This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening and welcome to the Harwich Board of Selectmen meeting for March 24th, 2021. We did open the meeting at 6 o'clock and went into executive session in which we discussed two items. The first item was a contract with the Harwich Employees Association, which we moved to approve. And so that contract is now in place. The second item was a discussion of collective bargaining strategies going forward into the next fiscal year. That will be, this is a starting process in which we were talked about ground rules, and that discussion will continue. At, I guess, 6:30, about 6:32 or 3, we left the executive session, returned to open session, and that's where we are now. So I would ask you at this time to, if you would join me with a Pledge of Allegiance. And Joel is getting really good at putting the flag out. So I'll start the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much for joining me on and joining all of us together on that. And thanks, Joe. We'll move next to a weekly briefing. And as normal, this will start with COVID-19 updates.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It is my pleasure to introduce for the COVID update our Public Health Director, Dr. Katie O'Neill. Katie, welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. And I'd certainly like to start off by thanking the Board of Selectmen for approving my promotion last week. I know making a change during a pandemic is unnerving, but I can certainly assure you that the health department will continue to run at the high standard that it has always held itself to. Joe and Megan's leadership and guidance have certainly made this a smooth transition, and I am very lucky to come into this role with an amazing team already established. Jen Clark, especially our executive admin, has been above and beyond helpful, and I'm very grateful to have her. And I certainly look forward to working with all of you in the future as well. Moving into my COVID report, to date there have been a total of 606 cases of COVID-19 in Harwich. We are currently following 18 active cases, and our positivity rate has unfortunately increased to 3.06%. We have moved back into the yellow designation, which means that we have 10 or more average cases per 100,000 people. Many changes have occurred since the last regularly scheduled selectmen's meeting. This past Monday, it was announced that people who are 60 years or older and certain workers will now be eligible to receive the vaccine. This includes, but is not limited to, restaurant or food workers, medical supply chain workers, transit and transportation workers, public works workers, water, wastewater, utility, sanitation, public health, court system, funeral directors, and funeral workers. Barnstable County has been running several clinics a week in addition to off-Cape vaccination sites. Individuals can sign up at vaxfinder.mass.gov to look for appointments, and pre-registration is certainly recommended. We are also still providing a list to Cape Cod Healthcare for individuals who are 65 plus who don't have internet access or they have trouble navigating the website. And these individuals can be placed on the list by either calling the health department or the Council on Aging. Monday was also the official day that we moved into phase 4, step 1, which is great news. It includes the opening of larger facilities such as ballparks, stadiums, and arenas. Baseball season is right around the corner, so we're almost there. Gathering limits have changed for event venues in public settings. 100 people are now allowed indoors and 150 people are allowed outdoors. Dance floors are also allowed to reopen, so that's great news for weddings and prom season, which is right around the corner. Events held in private homes are still limited to 10 people indoors and 25 outdoors, so don't start booking any barbecues at your house quite yet. The travel order has now been changed to an advisory and no longer applies to individuals who are fully vaccinated. Testing is still available through Cape Cod Healthcare and Outer Cape Health. And the last item of note that I'll mention this evening is that Barnstable County officially has confirmed the first case of the P1 variant on Cape that was discovered in Brazil. We still are not sure the impact of the various variants on the vaccine, so it's really important that we maintain social distancing, we're wearing masks, and we have good hand hygiene. And I am happy to ask or answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Katie. I just have one comment. I did get a question today regarding the community center not being open on the weekends. And I raise that because I think people forget that we have the regulations or the guidelines that you've mentioned, but also stressing our town resources that we have to clean those every day. And so in some ways we have to be, if you will, a little harsher than what you would get just by reading what is allowed, because we, as any business or town, we do have still limited resources. And
Absolutely.
And I think I just want to remind people of that we're trying our best to get all that done, but it's a lot.
Yes, in order to be open at all, we have to adhere to really strict hygiene protocols, and unfortunately that can't be maintained on the weekends at this point. We have to make sure we're following everything the right way if we want to remain open.
Yeah. Thank you, Katie. Other, Joe?
It's Joe. If I could just build off of that, I know that Carolyn Carey is more than happy to discuss with anybody, and she has ample information on the website and information for community center. So she and the team over there remain ready to welcome people in accordance with the protocol. So if anybody's interested, they should still be contacting Carolyn, and she can work them through the schedules and what's available and the protocols. So the community center is impacted, but it's still, generally speaking, as open for business as we can be.
Thank you, Joe. Other comments? Good job, Katie. I'm sorry you had to come in at this time, but we'll look forward to, I guess we'll look forward to not seeing you when you're not reporting every week.
That'll be the new goal.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Cindy?
Good evening. I'm going to make this short and sweet. No new updates tonight. I will have some announcements next week at Monday night's meeting for everyone.
Okay. Thank you, Cindy. Any questions or comments? We'll move next, then. We have nothing, for as far as I know, for public comments, unless there's someone on the Zoom who wishes to make one. Ed?
Yes, I just like to note that next Monday and Tuesday, March 29th and 30th, at the Harwich Police Department, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., the Cape Cod Hospital Blood Donor Room is doing a blood drive. Apparently, the blood levels that they have are very low, and they can use whatever donors show up for the two-day drive. It's rather unusual to do a two-day drive. You need to make an appointment, and you can make that by calling the blood donor room at Cape Cod Hospital. I urge you to do that. I've been a donor for, well, the last 20 years I've been on Cape Cod, and it's, I think now, a very important thing to do.
Thank you, Ed. Anyone else for public comment? Now,
Larry, just briefly.
Michael? Yes.
I just wanted, at the beginning of the meeting, to point out last Monday night when we were having our public hearings or going into our public hearings, in the packets was two sections, and one of them said any report from noise committee, and the other one said presentation from noise committee. And I just want to point out to the public that is not something that was vetted by the noise committee, and that was nothing that was vetted by the Board of Selectmen. It was an error that it was presented in the packet that way. The fellow that sent that in was one member of the noise committee, but that was not the work of the noise committee. And just to the public, I know, Larry, we've been talking about it, and we will have in the near future a report from the noise committee where this gentleman will be able to present that to us. But anyone in the public that was reading that needs to know that that's one person's opinion and that had not been vetted by the board or even discussed.
Okay. Thanks for that clarification. We'll move next to the consent agenda.
Okay, I move that we vote to approve the Caleb Chase request in the amount of $1,000. Move to approve support for the nomination of Jennifer Harrington as animal inspector, and vote to accept the gift from Paul B. Manning of $250,000 to support the Saquatucket Harbor to Harwich Port sidewalk design.
The second.
Larry,
Okay, thank you, Ed. Steve, do you wish to comment?
Yeah, I would like to appreciate the opportunity in particular to thank Paul Manning. He has made a wonderful contribution here to the town, to this project in particular. And since he began the process of offering this to the town, I think the project is moving along much more rapidly. And the result will be we'll get this wonderful project done on a much more accelerated basis. If you all don't know, Mr. Manning has lived in town during the summers for a long time. His family has been part of the town community for many, many years. His brothers and sisters, his parents owned a home here in town for a long time. And he clearly has shown his love of the town, not just through a contribution like this one, but also through the businesses that he started here in town and his continued investment in the community. So I think it's just a wonderful contribution, and we greatly, greatly appreciate what he's done here to push this along. And let's hope that we'll get this done in a efficient and quick fashion, because I know everyone wants it done, and it will make a great contribution to the town. So thanks to Mr. Manning.
Thank you, Steve. Don?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I also want to echo what Stephen said about thanking Mr. Manning, but I also, and this is absolutely nothing about the substance of this, but just to you, Mr. Chair, I've long stated that nothing significant should happen in the consent agenda, and $250,000 used to be significant to me. I'm hoping that things like that will find their way into new business in the future.
Thank you, Don. Ed?
Yeah, I just like to make sure that after we take action on this motion, that we also follow it up with a letter to Mr. Manning from the board. Thanking.
Absolutely.
I
Good idea.
think not always been consistent with that in recent years.
Okay. Michael, I think you had a comment as well?
Yeah, I actually just echo Stephen's comments and thank Paul Manning. This was a great gift. This is something that's been talked about for a long time and been delayed for budget reasons. And Paul this contribution really is going to push this project along. So thank you.
So great. It's very much appreciated. And now we have to take advantage and complete the project and have a sidewalk going out to Saquatucket. I'm hoping to Julian Road so we can walk to the Red River Beach. We have a vote in the second then on the consent agenda. I'll take a roll call. Don?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Moving then to new business. First time on discussions, the Main Street bog. Joe, you want to start this for us?
Actually, I will defer to Selectman Howell. I believe he's going to speak to this.
Don?
Yeah, if Ed can get that for me, then I'll talk.
Fuck. Oh, shoot.
Well, now.
Okay, Don.
Hey, Ed, mute your mic.
Yes, Mr. Chair. I did ask for this to be on, and I do want to take an action tonight. I'm extremely frustrated, and I've passed that along to you. In December, I passed along the desire to the Conservation Commission to take action on this. I again said something a few weeks ago, and the lease was signed by the Board of Selectmen. This is the last lease bog that we have left. And I'll be damned if I'm going to allow the pump house to go out and not be able to use this again. So we have another field of brown and weeds. And the reason I brought it up is because the current tenant would have to actually start removing equipment immediately in order to make the deadline for this. I see that it's going to be on the agenda at Conscom. It's irrelevant to me. I'm making a motion to extend the lease by 1 year so that we can have a coherent discussion with enough time so that all parties will know exactly what they're doing.
I second that motion.
I'd like some feedback. Do we have the power to do that the way the town meeting vote is and the way the lease is written now?
It was our lease. We signed it.
I still like, I just want assurance that we're not violating the town article, and that specifically gave control to Conservation Commission.
No, it was care and custody. It was not control. Don't mix the two words up.
I think I'm still more comfortable. I want to keep the bog. We're on the same page there. I just want to be sure we're doing it correctly.
Well, that doesn't address what happened. They've already extended this out 4 months. It's ridiculous.
Larry?
Yeah, I'm not arguing that fact with you, Don. I just want to be sure we have the power to do what we're making the motion to do.
Larry?
Yes.
Yeah, and I would argue that if challenged, we can take this up at any time. But we're asking somebody that has had this bog for quite some time, that manages this bog, that is counting on this bog, and I see Alan Hall's on the call tonight. I hate to put him on the spot, but cranberry growing season starts now, and for him to start to grow his crop and then be told to get out is completely and totally unfair. And I would agree with Don. I'm not that concerned with what the Conservation Commission comes up with at this point. And after the Bell's Neck fiasco, where the board, from its constituents, put a wish through, and that wish was completely ignored. The heritage is being taken away, and Amy, I'm not talking about you, because I believe your wishes were the same as our wishes when that went before the Board of Selectmen and we made that conversation. But at this point, too much time has gone by, and this particular gentleman is also exploring an educational facility on this bog and would like to start to explore, and I know he's talked to the town administrator about this, but he'd like to explore a memorandum of agreement with the tech school to make this an educational bog and an educational experience. So I think 1 year buys us the time, A, so you can harvest the bog, and B, so that we can spend some real time with some real public input on what we're going to do going forward. And I do agree with Don, it's our lease, and we can extend that lease.
Amy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Board, for letting me speak. So first of all, I say my first comment is not on behalf of the Conservation Commission. 1 year to me is not a big deal, and I do agree that with cranberry practices, it takes a while to get out of there if you're going to. However, I would like to say I don't believe that the Conservation Commission had a meeting with Mr. Kukunis last year. And Mr. Howell, I did get your request. I spoke with Mr. Ballantyne and said that, you know, we've been having 4 to 5 hour meetings because we're having 15 hearings meetings per time. So I said we would put it on as soon as we possibly could, and we made an extra meeting, which is next week, I know that timeliness that's not the exact time frame we wanted, but we are interested in it. And at no point, I think it is a bit unfair to compare the Bell's Neck bogs to this bogs. They're completely different systems, and the leases and what the lessee is doing on them on each is different. I think there's a lot of different environmental factors, and the Conservation Commission at that other meeting did not indicate that they would not be interested in leasing it again. So I do know there's a few of my commissioners as well as my chairman on the line, and I just wanted to make that clear. I don't think that there's any preconceived notion that we would not potentially release these bogs, and that's why, or this property, and because it's multifaceted agricultural and conservation. And you can do whatever you're legally entitled to do, of course, but I just wanted to make that known.
Thank you, Amy. Don?
Yeah, I'm just going to double back. This isn't based on one instance that I'm actually very angry. This is a modus operandi. It's action by inaction, and it's been happening quite a lot. This was not even just a week or two ago, although I remember making a call to you, but I never got a call back. You chose to call the chair who didn't call you. But having said that, this was brought up in your annual meeting for the commission back in December. It wasn't a suggestion. It was something that it was a desire on the part of the Board of Selectmen. If this hadn't happened before in numerous cases, that action by inaction occurred and the pump house wound up being not usable anymore and the bog couldn't be resuscitated, I'd feel a little bit differently. But this isn't our first rodeo here. This has happened over and over again. Well, I'm giving you a year by extending the lease. I'm not trampling on anybody, but something's got to give here, and you got to understand that you work with the town. It's not a freestanding committee. Unless you've got concerns that should be brought to us, we signed the lease. I know we did because I was on the Board of Selectmen when the lease was first launched in the early 2000s. So this is not a recent thing. But my time must be up. The clock's done.
Your time's up. Don, or Joel, do you have a comment on this?
Certainly. Well, first, I am not an attorney, nor do I want to pretend to play one on television. However, while the discussion was going on, I did review the lease agreement, and it strikes me that there is no language prohibiting or expressing the extension of the lease, nor is there any reference to specific statute. So generally speaking, as speakers have said before, I would agree that a lease agreement is a document to be executed by the Board of Selectmen. It's the board's authority to do so, and I don't see anything presently that would cause the board not to take a positive action on the motion.
Okay. Thank you, Joe. That helps me a lot. Ed?
Yeah, yeah, I don't have any particular problem with extending the lease for a year. I just have a question. If we're going to renew this lease on into the future, it seems to me there has to be some process of putting it out for a request for proposal.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yes.
So, at this point, even if we put it out for request for proposal tomorrow, given the time limits that we have to abide by, it would be well past the time that anybody who would take up the lease could start getting a crop in. And so, I think just from a practical standpoint, for timing to put the lease out for renewal, we have to start a lot earlier in the year. So giving the year to renew the lease or to continue the lease will allow us to do that in an orderly process.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Hearing no other comment, I would ask for a vote. Don,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Steve? I think we've lost Steve now, but Ed?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. So we've done that, and then Amy will look for your follow-up on your meeting this week. Would you report back to us what the conclusion of that?
Yes, I'll be happy to. I can send it to Joe and Megan and copy you, Larry, or do you want me to send, how do you want me to send it?
You can copy me, and I'll forward it to everyone else. That makes it a little simpler, I guess.
Thank you.
Okay,
Larry,
Michael?
I'm prepared to make motions on some of the following items.
I appreciate that. Go ahead.
I move that we appoint the town administrator a voting member of Cape Cod Municipal Health Group.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, I'll go for a roll call vote. Michael?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
And I'm an aye.
Mr. Chair, I move that we move to authorize the chair to sign a memorandum of agreement between Harwich Council on Aging and the Social Security Administration.
Second.
Any discussion? I'll take a roll call. I'll start with an aye. Ed?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve Board of Selectmen meeting minutes from June 17th, 2019, June 24th, 2019, October 15th, 2019.
Second.
Is there any discussion? I'll go for a roll call then. Michael?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
And I'm aye.
Mr. Chair, before I move on to the next, I just would ask the question I always ask to the town administrator. Are any of the people on the list for the 2021 seasonal all alcohol liquor license renewals, are there any hearings scheduled or any violations that the board should know about?
No hearing scheduled, no violations that we're aware of.
Okay, with that, Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the 2021 seasonal all alcohol liquor license renewals for 30 Earl Road LLC, DBA The Commodore Inn, 30 Earl Road, Witchmere Harbor Functions LP, DBA Witchmere Harbor Beach and Tennis, 23 Snow Inn Road, Pleasant Bay Group, Inc., DBA Wauquosit Inn, 173 Route 28, and Lucky Labrador, Inc., DBA Perks, 545 Route 28.
Second.
Second, with the understanding that any and all previous conditions that were associated with them are also being brought forward.
That
Right.
is part.
Thank you.
That is part of my motion, and sorry, Don, I keep forgetting that part.
Okay.
Ed, did you second that as well?
Yes,
The
I
full
do.
motion? Roll call then. Is there any discussion by anyone viewing in? Go for a roll call then. Ed?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
And I'm aye.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the 2021 seasonal wine and malt liquor license renewal for the AJG Corp., DBA The Weather Deck Restaurant, 168 Route 28,
With any previous conditions
with
associated.
any previous conditions by the board.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, just quickly,
Don?
the only reason I keep insisting on that is in prior years, we've allowed terms to just fall off of licenses, and when they're gone, you can't remember when it was that they existed. So I just want to make sure that we tie this to the past approvals.
Yeah, no, I think we're fully in agreement with that. It'll get ingrained in our brains here pretty soon, I'm sure. No other discussion. I'll take a roll call. Don?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
And I'm aye. Thank you, Michael. That moved out very, very quickly. Old business then is on the agenda is the fiscal year 2022 Monomoy Regional School District budget. And Joe, I will. I think I'll start with you. I see Tina's on the line, and I'm not sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I don't know if that's Scott Carpenter or not.
Yeah, we are joined this evening by School Committee Chair Tina Games, Dr. Carpenter, Superintendent of the Monomoy Regional School District, and Michael McMillan, Business Manager for the Monomoy Regional School District. And I believe I saw our Harwich representative on the school committee, Terry Russell. There we go. Thank you, Terry. And so, Mr. Chairman, at this point, I would turn it over to Dr. Carpenter for his update on the fiscal year 2022 proposed budget. As you all know, I made reference to this last week after Dr. Carpenter had updated me on the school committee vote the week before. And I also just want to put out there for everybody that this conversation precedes the full conversation on the warrant, which has numbers in the draft warrant, but the numbers may not sync up. I'll get into that more directly under Article 4. That's more of a scrivener's error on my part. Having said that, Mr. Chairman, through you, I would turn it over to Dr. Carpenter.
Good evening, Dr. Carpenter.
Good evening. I think it's probably most appropriate if I just let our chair do a quick introduction. Then I will give a 30,000-foot overview of the budget. I'll turn things over to Michael and I'll pick up at the end. So Tina, all yours.
Tina, I'm always happy to hear you.
Thank you very much. And Larry, if that's okay with you, I just wanted to start out by saying that what you're going to see tonight is the budget that was approved by the school committee on March 11th. And I was here last week just to touch on a couple of adjustments that we've made. So just want to kind of set that. And then Terry and I are here along with the superintendent and Michael McMillan. So after they present, all four of us are here to take your questions. But this is the school committee's budget at this point. It was approved again March 11th. So with that, I will turn it over to you, Scott.
Okay, and I'm going to try and share my screen. I can. All right. Over to you,
Okay,
Scott.
so just to give everybody a quick overview of our budget from a 30,000-foot view. Something that we can be really proud of in terms of school district and our two towns is just the incredible work that our teachers have done throughout this pandemic. I think really our staff have been leading the way in terms of what it takes to have education move forward. I think when we were talking to your board, as the pandemic was beginning here in Massachusetts, a year ago, our teachers were really the first in the state to really pioneer meeting face to face every day with children and moving the curriculum forward that way. We again were the first district on the Cape to open our doors and for families that want it in-person learning for their children every day, 5 days a week. We had that happen for our middle schoolers and elementary schoolers. Right off the bat, our high school students were in the building initially and have been ever since the start of this school year. Although we have been rotating them with their in-person 2 days, and then the third day, one of the other technologies that we pioneered, the third day, they're at home to keep the class sizes down because of COVID and allow us to have that 6-foot spacing. We're actually attending their classes, their in person. But again, just some tremendous work that has been happening behind the scenes through a really dedicated teaching staff. We don't really know what the long-term effects of COVID are going to be, and there is some acknowledgement of that in how we've planned in this budget. While I put out an email to our staff in the past week saying I anticipate that we're going to be heading back to a new normal, and hopefully we'll be transitioning towards that in the next couple months. But we also don't know, whether there's going to be sort of residual COVID challenges for us, so that we do have some extra nursing staff is accommodated within this budget. One of the challenges that that we have had as a district is that, and this is something that is seen Cape-wide, is there is a continuing decline. It's been going on for the past 2 decades across Cape Cod, that the number of school-age children continues to be in decline as the Cape sees a demographic shift. But we're seeing a greater rate of decline in Chatham relative to Harwich, and that ultimately impacts the minimum required contribution that the state calculates and shifts costs towards Harwich. So we have been in conversations with both towns on how we can, potentially come up with a greater equity in how we go about the assessment portion of the budget. Lastly, there is an overall reduction in staffing behind this budget that reflects this slight reduction in enrollment. But at the end of the day, we're proud to say that this is a budget that maintains all services that were in place and all programs that were in place prior to COVID. So, so again, it's getting us back to where we were and the great school system that Monomoy was prior to COVID. Michael, all yours.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Carpenter. I know many of you have seen these slides before in one fashion or another, so I'll try and go quickly, but feel free to pipe up or ask any questions if there's any issues. So as you know, we developed this budget in line with the district's mission statement and to support the strategic plan objectives. We also have an objective of keeping class size averages at 18 plus or minus 1 at elementary schools and 19 plus or minus 2 at the high school. The budget is data driven. We try and make this process as transparent as possible, working with our staff, our family and broader community through a forum such as this. And we have developed this budget, and you'll see the changes we've made, trying to recognize the financial environment that both our member towns find themselves in. There are still assumptions, although as you get through the year, the number of assumptions we're having to make are fewer as information gets firmed up. Enrollment is obviously one that is a bit of a wild card. We saw a big change due to COVID this year, and we're expecting to return to our previous trends. We were seeing a slight fall, and I'll go into that in a bit more detail. We're not changing services at the lower grades, but there is some reduction in staffing. We have preliminary figures from the state and state funding and the minimum required contribution for each town, and we do know our health insurance numbers now. So student trends, and I highlight this in a couple of slides here. Obviously, we are seeing our enrollment fall, but what this slide shows is not just enrollment, but the makeup of our students and how that has changed over the last few years and how that compares to the state averages. So you'll see our percentage of students with disabilities has stayed relatively stable. However, the percentage of students who are English learners has increased in recent years, and a rate above that of the whole state. And we have seen an increase in the percentage of our students who are economically disadvantaged. And that enrollment trend, so the green line is the total number of students in the district, and that's actually plotted against the chart on the right, whereas the other lines are the enrollment for each school, which is charted against the column, the axis on the left. I just put them together so you can kind of see. Otherwise, if they were both on the same axis, the schools would be too small to really make out. But this just gives you a sense of the overall trend. And while the enrollment is going down overall, the real notable changes are at the school level, where we're seeing Chatham and Harwich coming down, predicted from 21. I mean, they were from 20 into 21, and we're predicting that into 22 as well. Whereas the high school has increased and the middle school is around level for this year. Despite that, or well, with that in mind, we have maintained our goal of, we have met our goal of maintaining class sizes and programs across the district. So I want to cut to the chase. So this is the budget that the school committee approved. This is overall about, this is a $300,000 increase from last year, which is about 0.7%. So it's less than 1% increase. I mean, that doesn't mean it's necessarily a less than 1% increase for Harwich, and we'll come on to that when I get on to talking about the assessment. But you can see, you know, we've really worked hard to keep this budget as low as possible, recognizing the situation that we're all in due to COVID and the ongoing impacts of the pandemic. To put that in some context, this will be the smallest increase in, I mean, really since FY15, and even then there was some other changes went on around that time that helped bring the budget down. But obviously this is significantly in that it's a relatively small increase. So that said, and you know, just to reassure people at home, we are still pursuing the strategic objectives for the district and seeking to meet the needs of the students who are coming through our doors. We have been able to fund some of the priorities that have been identified by principals and directors. Many of these are funded through reductions elsewhere or savings that we've identified. We are, I guess there's a couple I'd just like to highlight here. One is retaining an additional full-time nurse that was added this year in response to the challenges we're facing due to COVID and needing to provide the necessary response to issues as they arise. And we have made the decision that, you know, we don't quite know where COVID is going to be next year, but we expect there'll still be an increase on our reliance on the nurses, and so we've kept that in position. And then we're looking to add a math interventionist at the high school and a reading specialist at the middle school, both moves in line with our strategic objectives and meeting the needs of the students. And also increasing a math position, which is currently in place at Chatham Elementary School, increasing that to a full-time position. Unfortunately, and as often the case, and I'm sure you know, many budget processes face something similar, we're not able to meet all the requests from principals and directors, and many items which we would like to have funded this year have not been funded, including updating textbooks and so on. A couple of things I'd like to highlight are around special education. So we have a 0.5 FTE speech and language, this team chair, and a special education teacher at the high school, which were all identified as needs, but didn't quite make it onto the priority list, or we weren't able to identify sufficient savings to fund those. You know, we will continue to look for ways to fund these positions through other savings we can make, or through, you know, other funding from the state. So this isn't set in stone now. We will keep trying to fund these. Obviously, it won't impact our budget after this. So over the next few slides, I just wanted to highlight some specific parts of the budget. One of those is our out-of-district expenditure. This is when we are not able to provide an education to students inside the district, and this is students who have special education needs that are such that we can't meet those needs in the district, and so we pay other schools outside the district to provide that education. And I just highlight that because that can fluctuate a lot and have a big impact on our budget year to year. We did see an increase from FY20 into 21, and we are expecting a small increase going into 22. However, we also receive funding from the state that offsets this cost, and the funding for that increased for next year. And so the net impact on the budget is actually a small reduction in this area, which has been good news, and that's helped us deliver the budget we have. So school choice, and this is another area where we are paying for students who leave the district, those different from out of district tuition. These are students, school choice is students who choose to attend schools in other districts. And charter school tuition is students who live in Harwich or Harwich or Chatham and choose to attend a charter school. So this has actually, since 2018, we have been seeing this come down. Again, COVID threw a kind of curveball here and it came down, and we're not quite sure what it's going to be. We're taking kind of a conservative approach here and maintaining the same level of budget as we had last year, or rather that we budgeted for this year into FY22. So the other big area, or another big area of our budget, is employee health insurance. And like Harwich, we are part of the Cape Cod Municipal Health Group, which has set its rates to an increase of 2 to 3%. However, the premium holiday means that their net impact is actually a reduction in the health insurance budget. And again, that has helped us as we try to get this budget as low as possible. And just some other drivers that just to be aware of: custodial supplies and services. We continue to see an impact on the cleaning needs due to COVID and the demands on disinfecting and so on, in order to reduce the likelihood of contamination. Substitutes is an area where we've been facing some particular challenges, and that's been increased to bring our budget in line with our expected expenditure. Heating, we're not expecting any increase there, or in utilities, and as we've mentioned a few times now, COVID continues to have an impact in a number of different areas. One area that I know is always presented here is in our capital expenditure. There's two parts really to this that we've kind of separated out. One is our facilities and one is technology. Technology is all just ongoing leases. So these are projects that were undertaken either this year or in prior years, and we're continuing to pay the leases on equipment. And then we have a few facilities projects. Obviously, the biggest one here is we are starting the project to replace phones and the PA systems at the middle school and at Harwich and at Chatham eventually, hopefully. So that's going to be a multi-year project, and we're hoping to get that underway, first phase of that underway next year. So this is still thinking about how we develop the budget, and we do have a number of funds which offset our planned expenditure before we finalize the budget. So one of those is school choice. So I mentioned a few slides ago that we pay for students who leave the district to attend other schools through the school choice program, but we also in turn receive funds from other districts where their students are attending our schools. And if you remember, it was about 1.2 million was how much we were paying, or how much we budgeted for next year. And as you'll see here, we're expecting to get close to 1.4 million, a little over 1.4 million going into FY22. So if you're remembering, our budget is down. The budget we're presenting here has come down since the last time we presented to you. And one of the ways we've achieved that is we've increased the amount of money we think we're going to get from school choice. So that's increased the offset to the expenditure before we get to the budget. A couple of other areas: circuit breaker, that is the funding I mentioned earlier in relation to those special education costs for our district students. As I said, we've seen that increase, and that's why you see that going up here. And then the next few lines, IDEA, Title I, and the Early Child Integration Grant, those are grants. They don't offset the budget in quite the same way as they supplement rather than supplanting the budget. They don't save us money, they allow us to provide additional services, but we're expecting those to be level. And then Make Way for Kids is a program we had at Harwich, which is no longer running. So although that's not offsetting, the fees from that are no longer offsetting the budget, we also don't have the expenditure from it either. And athletic, we normally are able to offset a little bit of the budget from the athletic revolving account. However, with COVID limiting attendance at games and so on, we're not able to rely on that for next year. So hopefully next year we will have people attending games and so on, and then FY23 we'll see those funds back in the budget. All right, so what I've been really talking about until now is how the key drivers behind our budget. And then just before I start to talk about the assessment process, I just wanted to take a pause and look at how we compare to other districts. This is based on FY19 data, so it's changed so much in the last couple of years, but this compares us to a few districts around here. I think a couple of takeaways are we're kind of around the middle compared to some of these other districts, and the smaller you get, the higher your per pupil cost gets, as you have fewer pupils to share the costs around. Okay, so we've kind of talked about the budget. So that's our final budget of just over $41.5 million. Now, the way the assessment works is that, first of all, we reduce the budget by general fund revenue and state aid, and then what's left we split up between the two towns. So the general fund revenue and state aid, the biggest part of that is our Chapter 70 aid from the state. We also receive funding because of a regional district. We receive funding for transportation costs, and then there's a couple of other smaller issues here, smaller items. One of those is charter school reimbursement. The state gives us a small amount of funding to help offset the increase in our charter school tuition that we're paying. So all these things combine and help to reduce the budget before the assessment. And one of those, the last item here, just to point out, is our excess and deficiency. That's another area where we've increased our reliance on that to help bring down the budget for Chatham and Harwich. So when the state's calculating the funding for the year, one of the things they calculate is the minimum local contribution each town is required to pay. And that, although each town pays more than the minimum local contribution, this is important because it factors in how the assessment is calculated. And as you'll see here, I put the two towns next to each other using the same axis so you could see how they compare relative to each other. And you'll see that the blue line on each chart is the foundation enrollment, which is based on the right-hand axis. And the orange bar chart is the required minimum contribution set by the state, and that's on the left-hand axis. So the big thing here is that both towns, Harwich and Chatham, saw a reduction in their foundation enrollment from FY21 and into FY22. Those are the budget years. Obviously, the actual enrollment is based on the current year. So, but you can also see here that while Chatham's required minimum contribution went down, Harwich's went up, and that's because really it's about percentages. So, I mean, looking at this, you can see the slope on these, the blue lines, is almost the same, but for Chatham, it's a much higher percentage reduction than it is for Harwich. And that really has that knock-on effect. So it's about, I think it's like it's $89,000 increase in the minimum contribution for Harwich, but it's close to $300,000 decrease for a Chatham. I'll talk about that again in a minute. All right, so just to so we have the budget, and then that is 41.5 million. That's a $300,000 increase, just 0.7%. And then it's offset by this general fund revenue and state aid. Biggest of that is 3.8 million from the state, which is an increase from last year. Excess and deficiency, which we put up to now $800,000, which is a small decrease from last year. A charter school, Medicaid interest, and so on. But overall, that is an increase of $133,000. So before we get to the assessments, we've had the budget increased by $300,000, but then the offsets increased by $133,000. So the net effect of this on the total assessment is $166,000. And then we get into the process of spreading the funds between the two towns, or the cost between the two towns. And so that's what this chart shows. So the first thing that happens is, according to the regional agreement, each town is assessed the local minimum contribution. That's the number in that orange chart showed and calculated by the state. So small increase for Harwich, but a bigger decrease from Chatham. And that has an impact on Harwich, because what that means is once you've taken those funds and put them aside, everything else is split up between Chatham and Harwich based on the 3-year average of the foundation enrollment. So because the whole pie is gone up 166,000, and this portion, which is going to be split between the two towns, has gone up by 300,000 because that's not part of Chatham's minimum contribution anymore. That increases how much is assessed to Harwich. I know that's kind of complicated, but you can see the net impact of it in that in the column here that shows that $597,000 increase for Harwich. Then transportation, which is down slightly, that's down because our transportation aid has increased. So the budget for transportation has gone up a little bit, but at the same time, the aid that we have available to offset that has gone up as well, and that's helped to bring an overall decrease to both towns. It's the capital and stabilisation. There's a slide I showed earlier on our capital projects. There's a small increase there. And debt, which is a debt really just paid, well, is only paying for the high school now. We saw a decrease there as we paid off the last short-term borrowing, and so that's positively impacted both towns. So net effect of all these steps is an increase to Harwich of $541,000, just over 2%, and a decrease to Chatham of just over 4%. One more thing to point out is that the school district, like the town, has received funding from the federal government. It's an ESSER grant, and the governor's budget for FY22, House 1 budget, says that towns can use some of the money that the schools are receiving in that ESSER grant to offset the increase to their local minimum contribution. So this grant, we are receiving $650,000 from the federal government in this particular grant, and the governor's budget says that Harwich can choose to use up to $89,000 of that grant that we're receiving to count towards its assessment. So that just gives you a little bit more off that final impact on your budget. We have been talking about an alternative assessment method, so I just thought it was worthwhile talking about that quickly and just give you an idea of the impact it might have. So the process we've talked about is that we would do the assessment methodology in the same way as we currently do it. However, before we entered into it, we would take out, or we would assess to each town the cost of their elementary school. And so you can see, so you still start with the local minimum contribution, then each town is assessed its elementary school, and then you split it up, the remaining amounts, as we do currently, using the foundation enrollment, or the 3-year rolling averages. But the amount you're splitting up is less because you've already taken out that elementary school budget. And what that does, and I would just say these numbers are just indicative because they've not been finalised, they've not gone through school committee or anything like that at this point, and they've been, things are changing as we were developing the budget. But this just gives you a sense. This is definitely a sense of the scale of the change that might happen with this change, and this would bring something like this would bring Harwich's increase down to, a small increase, almost flat budget, and an increase for Chatham compared to last year. These percentages are the change from FY21. It's not the change from the currently proposed FY22 budget. I know that gets confusing as well. All right, so Scott, if you're still there, I think you were going to go over these slides if you like.
So at one of our school committee meetings, a community member, Charles Gruska, had asked about, just historically, what did Chatham assessments and Harwich assessments look like? So I had mentioned to the committee that I would share that information, just do some research. So Michael and I have sort of compiled a little table here that looks at what the school spending looked like for both towns, FY7 through FY22, and what you see is that the assessment that that Michael has talked about, for Chatham has negligibly changed since FY7 compared to what the assessment would be in FY22, whereas in Harwich there has been a substantial increase. So to sort of understand what was going on, I want to first talk about some of the sort of semantics behind a budget that Michael was getting at. So in the next slide here, if we remember, Michael was talking about this concept that enrollment is driving a lot of this. So the top three lines are looking at Harwich's enrollment, Harwich's minimum required contribution, and ultimately Harwich's percent of the budget. The bottom three lines are Chatham's. So largely what you have is you have three lines that are overlapping each other. It's enrollment is determining what that minimum required contribution is, which is heavily involved in what ultimately the town's share of running the schools are. So this is an enrollment challenge that we are looking at when we look at what's going on with those assessment changes in the previous slide. So the next slide, Michael.
Sorry.
So just to keep in mind a timeline here. If we really look at when did regionalization happen, FY11 is when the town of Chatham and Harwich have a simultaneous vote going on to special town meetings. December 6, 2010, they vote to form the region. So they're still operating as Harwich Public and Chatham Public. And then in FY12, you start to see a transition because the district is starting to operate as a regional school district, albeit it's still functioning as Chatham Public Schools and Harwich Public Schools, just sort of with a interim superintendent. Dr. Cregan was here for that last year. I came on board in FY13 to bring the district fully together, but we were still operating 2 high schools, 2 middle schools, and 2 elementary schools in FY13. And then FY14, the 2 towns start to see that first sort of impact of fully regionalized. So we're now down to 1 high school, 1 middle school, 2 elementary schools. And over the course of FY12 to FY14, there was a reduction in staffing, that there were some savings that the towns were seeing as we merged to form 1 district, so that you only have 1 high school principal, 1 middle school principal, 1 superintendent, 1 business office. So if we go to the next slide, Michael. So one of the things that that I wanted to emphasize to our board and anybody that was listening at the at our school committee meeting is that both towns really have benefited from regionalization. And there's the financial piece of benefit, but there's also, I think the most important thing is just the program, just what students have as opportunities at Monomoy Regional being joined together with Chatham has really increased options for children. And we're seeing also the benefit there in terms of the outcomes and where students are launching to when they graduate from Monomoy Regional. So there's been just huge benefits in terms of educational program. When it comes to the benefit fiscally, what we tried to do here is if we look at the apples comparison is the grid to the right. If you pull out school debt, because when we went into this, there was some school debt at Chatham, and there were buildings that needed to be built, or a high school that needed to be built in Harwich. So if we exclude the debt and say, okay, what have the, what were the costs, and how were the costs increasing FY7 to FY11 at that transition into a region? Chatham was seeing costs, their costs were escalating to run their schools in those early years at over 4%. And we've seen Chatham's costs go down, and again, largely because of this, of the shift in foundation enrollment, we're seeing Chatham's costs have continued to go down, and you've seen me come before this board to talk about what the assessments in the two towns would look like. And for the last 3 years, we've been talking about a negative assessment in Chatham. And Michael, in the last slide there, we did the same grid for Harwich. So, the Harwich Public Schools were seeing annual increases averaging at 3.5% prior to regionalization. And while they aren't going negative like they have for Chatham, we've seen the actual increases, the average increases for Harwich, have dropped below that 3.5%. So they've been 2.4% on average over the years. So there is a difference in terms of how the town's educational budget has changed year to year, albeit not to the extent that Chatham has seen. So I think that's all we have on our end, and just want to open things up to questions.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Michael and
I'll
Tina.
stop sharing, shall I?
Open it up to questions.
Larry,
Michael?
I guess I'll start. In your original budget presentation, what was the number or the percentage along with the number that you had plugged in for the health insurance increase?
It was, you'll need to give me a minute to find that.
While he looks for that, let me rewind anyway, and then just thank you, Dr. Carpenter and Michael, for that presentation, and thank you for the reductions that you've presented in your budget. Michael, you're muted.
All right, sorry about that. Yeah, so it was about an 8 to 10% increase that we had budgeted.
What was the dollar amount associated with that, Michael?
It was, let's see. Sorry about this, it's here. If you want to go into some more questions while you're talking, I'll look for the dollar amount.
Okay.
Has it
and just to follow on that, Michael, if you could tell me what the current percentage is that you have that with the health insurance increases in that dollar amount as well.
All right, but I can tell you it's actually a decrease right now.
Yeah, it should have been a pretty significant decrease in health insurance.
Yeah.
I think if you're ready, I'll stop talking. If you're not, I'll continue.
You keep talking. I'll interrupt you when I find it.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. The and the other number, Michael, that I'm looking for is what you have in your, I know you're 800,000 using your out of your E&D. What's the balance of the E&D account?
So I can tell you on the E&D, so E&D was certified by the state at $2.1 million. So if you were to take out the $800,000, that gets you to what, 1.3 million. Obviously, the only thing about E&D is it's a little complicated because it's not really set in stone. 2.1 million. It fluctuates during the year depending on expenditure, revenue, and so on. So it does change, but based on what we most recently certified, that'd be where you went.
While you're still looking, moving on, maybe this is more of a conversation for Tina and Scott. And this is something I brought up at the last meeting. And looking at, and again, your numbers changed drastically or went down, but looking at the year, looking at the pandemic, looking at the position the town's in, looking at the percentages that the town budget went down and the services that we're not going to fill, I personally, I guess I'd really like to know the thought that went into having to buy the $500,000 reading program this year versus waiting until we get out of the pandemic. What was the emergency in spending that money? You're muted, Scott.
Scott, do you want to take the question? Yeah.
Oh, sure. Now I'm just following Michael. If Mr. McMillan's going to be muted, I'll mute too. But I'm happy to take it. It's so Michael, the ELA curriculum is something that has been a strategic priority for the school district for the last couple of years, and we went into the FY21 budget with that ELA curriculum in it, and only pulled it out of the current fiscal year because with the pandemic setting in, it was just not possible to do the required in-person professional development to launch a new curriculum effectively for the elementary schools, and so we pulled out that there was a budget reduction because of that as we headed into town meetings. As the year has gone on this year, we reassessed where we are, because we have seen a number of things that have gone in a number of ways that COVID has actually helped our budget, in that we have had situations where there's less kids, a lot less kids at the high school, since we only have 2/3 of them in the building at a time. So we didn't hire an assistant principal at the high school this year, a second assistant principal. So so we had some staffing savings. We had savings in terms of, I was concerned going into the current year that we might have staff that would be uneasy about teaching in an era of COVID. So we offered an early retirement incentive and saw savings there. We had athletic seasons this year that didn't happen because of COVID. At the end of the day, we were able to sit down with the school committee and have a discussion with them about using FY21 funds and implementing the ELA curriculum this year, and being able to do so because we're at a point, and again, this is a knock on wood, and I don't want to go and jinx anything, but but we appear to be emerging from this pandemic and at a place that we can go and bring vaccinated teachers together for the professional development to launch this strategic initiative. And again, it was something that we brought to a school committee vote, and that the school committee unanimously voted to support us moving forward.
Thank you, Scott. And I recognize where you got the money, and thanks for the memo that you sent previously. It's just in a budget crisis. I'm not sure that this was the right decision from the school committee and being pushed. That money should have gone to reduce the budget, at least in this selectman's mind, as well as any other savings that we could have found. And I do think you've found some, but we've pulled $250,000 out of our police department, and I don't, I can't say enough the amount of pain that some of our departments felt and things that the town's going to go without. And those were sacrifices made, basically through a directive from the Board of Selectmen to the town administrator, but there was a lot of hard no's given. And I don't think it was the wisest decision to include that. And those savings should have gone, in my mind, towards further budget savings. As far as the assessment goes, Scott, that's not, I applaud you guys for working with us and for supporting the town of Harwich and trying to change the elementary school structure. But as previously mentioned, that's not happening this year. And I really don't see Chatham volunteering to pay the difference this year. That's something that ultimately I think we're going to have to go to the state for and try and get some relief, because the formula, and I do believe the demographics were available when we regionalized. So I'm not sure why it's such a surprise today to a lot of people, but that's got to be fixed. Michael, any answers?
Yes. So in rough terms, the increase that we had projected was around $500,000, a 10% increase. And the actual decrease is around $400,000, which is about 7%.
So it's roughly $100,000 savings?
No, $400,000 savings. Well, it depends what you're comparing to. So it's compared to FY22, it's well.
No, just from your proposed budget, from what you guys originally came to the table with the 8 to 10%, and then the actual numbers coming in. What's the difference today versus the first presentation you gave?
So it's about 400, well, maybe $500,000.
So I would ask where that money got reallocated to.
So I think the version of your budget though you're thinking of an earlier version of the budget. So the budget has come down more than once, and that's where the saving is delivered on multiple reductions to the budget from that health insurance.
Okay, Larry, go ahead, Michael.
So one other thing I was going to add about the ELA curriculum is some of those costs are being paid this year. So even if we didn't do it, it wouldn't impact next year's budget as much as outlined.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Larry, I'm all set.
Larry.
Okay.
Larry. Larry, Charlie Russell.
Oh, Terry. Go ahead, Terry.
If I could just echo Scott and respond to Michael. Regarding that language arts reading program, we've got about 1,800 kids, K through 12 in our district, Chatham and Harwich. Half of those kids are in K5. We've often said in learning and teaching that you only have one good shot at kindergarten. The kid only has one good shot at second grade. Same with third grade, fourth grade, and fifth grade. There's no fill in the blanks. And my thought as a member of the committee, it did face a critical need. We had about $600,000 worth of requests and wants and needs from the staff and principals in the central office. We all voted to hold them off. And as Scott said, the language arts reading was held off. It was $470,000. For last year, it was held off. We don't have stellar reading or math scores. 3 years ago, we invested tremendous amount, hundreds of thousands of dollars for a math program, K8. And we're looking for after the training, we're looking for those scores to improve because of that unified attempt to bring a program in. In the 7 or 8 years that it's been a region, we have not invested K through 5 in a unified training program for all the language arts teachers, or the same program for the kids, so you can have standard improved expectations. I saw that personally with the money without asking for more a critical need to not waste another year, specifically in not only the test scores, but also this past year. I'm optimistic that we're turning the corner with pandemic, but clearly what we've created here at the state, but also here in Chatham, it's a sad substitute for full-time classrooms. We all know that. So what those youngsters, those 800 K through 5, have picked up or slipped in the area of reading and language arts, I'd like to put a halt to it as critically and as quickly as we can. So in the long run, I think it's an investment that I wouldn't want to tread water for another year in hopes that we can pick that up. So the test scores aren't anything you would continually say were stellar. That's an attempt to make that to happen. So hopefully there was a decision, and I felt good about the fact there were 7 others that voted yes for this for me. And hopefully our attempt to bring $800,000 together for our E&D, there's always probably could say more, but I think that's where we stand now, and I respectfully suggest that it was a good decision on our part.
Larry, if I may respond quickly.
Yeah, briefly, please.
Terry, thank you for the explanation and your strong stance on this. And I'm certainly not going to bog down the budget process anymore because we're getting to a critical time of approval or denial. But I heard town meeting a couple of years ago, as I'm sure you did. And at some point, Terry, I'd like to have a conversation with the school committee and Dr. Carpenter to try and understand what your plan is 5 years out. The budget overall has gone in about 12 years from 44 million to 71 million. Your budget since 2013 has gone up $10 million. And I'd like to understand what the school committee's plan is for the fleeing families that can no longer afford to live here. And the seniors that have worked hard and worked for the municipality and all of the town departments that can't afford to live here now because of all these increases. That's what I'm concerned about, Terry. So when we talk about decisions being critical in the middle of a pandemic when we don't have the numbers, I don't take it quite as lightly as you are on this.
I have a question. Your slide on alternative assessment method, is that a proposal, Scott Michael, that you're looking forward to coming to, possibly even a fall meeting as a to help address the elementary school issues that we've talked about?
Yeah, Larry, it is. So, I think what I hope to seek at some point, and it doesn't have to happen tonight, but at some point, as superintendent, I sort of stuck my neck way out there and made a very public recommendation to our board that as superintendent, I felt that it would be far more equitable to the town of Harwich if we sought a revision to our regional agreement that had each town pay for its own elementary school. And I think it would, what I hope to see is, and I believe I have unanimous support from our board, from my board to move that recommendation forward. I'm hoping at some point that there can be support from your board to move that recommendation forward. And I am cautiously optimistic that we will see support, or I hope that we'll see support from the Chatham board, because at the end of the day, I think it's in everybody's best interest to see some better financial equity happening, because that's going to support a strong school district over the long haul. And I think I know that there are many in Chatham who want to make sure that I think they love Chatham Elementary School, which is fine. I appreciate that, and there's a love for many of the Harwich families for Harwich Elementary School. And I think this I think of it as a very simple recommendation. Takes a fiscal pressure off of the town of Harwich for having Chatham operate a small elementary school when the regional agreement is blind to how the budgets of those elementary schools ultimately get played out in a regional agreement that sort of blindly just looks at 3 years rolling average of foundation enrollment and minimum required contribution. And the way that's playing out has, if we, and part of the document that I shared with our board and with your boards, was, just sort of shows if we were doing this differently, the town of Harwich would have benefited each year if we were paying just for if the town of Harwich were paying for just its elementary school in that regional agreement.
So your intent is to bring this back as a separate matter,
Yes, I think at some point, I think if I do believe if there's a vote to support that recommendation from your board, I think it puts the ball in Chatham's court. And I think at the end of the day, I am worried about just a timeline. I've spoke about a timeline that we should be, that we could see this line up, for special town meetings in the fall. Because we also not only have to get 3 boards to all agree on a recommendation, but we also have to get we have to send it to the Department of Education that then has to go through their legal vetting. And I don't think that there's time to have that happen before Springtown meetings. But there is still time to have that happen before Fall Town meetings. But my worry is we're pushing the beginning of April, and I made this recommendation initially to my board in December. And if it were to take another 3 months for us to get 3 boards to approve something and ship it to the Department of Ed, then it's going to make a September timeline be out of reach. So I am worried about timeliness.
Yeah, Tina.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, Larry, because as I follow all of this, and of course I was here last week and explaining that the school committee, that if we had control over this, it would be great, but we don't. And my suggestion was to get a group of people, a round table. However, I'm wondering, Larry, and I know, you're a chair, I'm a chair, perhaps is there some steps that we can take as me as the school committee chair, you as the Harwich chair, and Shireen, can we begin some conversations? Because Michael's made reference a couple of times that things aren't going to happen this year. But it doesn't mean we can't keep having conversations. And I still feel like we're at a place where Harwich is having their conversation, Chatham's having theirs, and the school committee, we're trying to bring the 2 towns together. So I think I'm just asking you to join me, maybe the 2 of us. Let's partner up. Maybe let's reach out to Shireen. Let's get some dialogue going, because I hear the urgency. And I guess I just feel like there's some steps we can take here.
I appreciate that. And I did meet with Shireen and Joe Powers and Jill last week to start some of those discussions, which will continue, and of course, bring back to our boards on the steps.
Perfect. Thank you.
What?
Ed, go ahead.
Yeah, having been on the board when we created the district, and having watched the 6-member committee who negotiated the agreement, it was clear one of the critical issues for the town of Chatham was that they maintain their elementary school in their town. And one can understand, wanting the younger students close to home, and that makes all the sense in the world. But, the other side of that is, okay, if you want to maintain the school, then you have to be willing to also take responsibility for it. And I think that's the issue that we need to get them to agree to, of taking responsibility for that decision.
Don?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to bring up what I brought up before. And by the way, I do appreciate all the efforts that the school committee put into this. But this, I could just hear this conversation in a year or two. If we have to bring this back again to Chatham on phase 2, and there is a phase 2, they're going to say, but we just revisited everything with the elementary school a couple of years ago. The fact of the matter is they're trending down. Those kids are going to become middle schoolers. The middle schoolers are going to become high schoolers. Essentially, let's be realistic here. They wouldn't have been able to maintain a school district in the numbers that they're talking about because it's a zero sum eventually. Something has to be done. I wasn't around for the negotiation and the formation of the district, and what I was real fan of back at the mid-2000s was sharing costs operationally, like the central office. But this is precisely what I was worried about, is a disparity growing. I want to make sure that the folks in the town of Chatham understand that it's an evolving problem. It isn't just the elementary school. It's that now, because that's what is presenting in front of us. The overall problem is that we're bearing an increasing foundational responsibility to run a school system which is essentially becoming ours, and they're guests in it. That something has got to change overall in the mindset, because they don't appear to be all that interested in even having the conversation about that Ed suggests about them supporting their own elementary school. We never, I'll say what I said before, we never would have entered a regionalization given the numbers that Michael has brought up, because I've been bringing them up through the years. With the increases that we've experienced, we could have managed to increase our budget on our own. We didn't need help. I mean, this is becoming unmanageable, and there has to be a deadline to discuss this with the relevant parties. They can't keep kicking the can down the road. It's not just the elementary school. That is the first part of the discussion.
We have, point I was trying to get at is that Scott has made a recommendation that helps address the costs, even though it's the first start. That's obviously not on the agenda tonight per se. I'd like to bring that back as quickly as we can to discuss that aspect of it. Tina?
Yeah, I just want to just put something just on the radar, perhaps for a later conversation, because Michael made reference to fleeing families, and I think he's correct. In Chatham and Harwich, people can't afford to live here. And so I think this is a larger conversation beyond just the school committee, just beyond just our schools. What I would like to see is Chatham and Harwich partnering on something together, not only to address school costs, but housing costs, job opportunities. I feel like we have this is opening a door to an opportunity for a larger conversation. And I want to just put that on your radar, and I would love to be a part of that. I think the school committee, we've had a lot of conversations. We're already working really hard amongst ourselves, looking at early childhood and childcare, because that's an issue too. I mean, we busted ourselves, the administration, to keep our schools open. We opened, I have attended so many school committee meetings across the state, and it's amazing to me how schools are just now opening. We have been open since September 14th, and we're doing everything we can. We're feeding our kids, we're opening our doors, we're trying to get people back to work. And I feel like this is a larger conversation, and I just want to stick it on your radar for us to revisit beyond just this budget. Thank you.
Larry?
Thank you. All right, who's
Larry, Terry?
Terry?
Yes, thank you. Just a suggestion. Pardon me?
You got such a small picture. I have a hard time telling who's talking.
In the last 5-minute conversation, that too, I think, is key to moving it along. I think Tina's and Larry, you're meeting with the chair of the Chatham board. I would suggest that takes the next step in the next couple of weeks with a meeting, and I'd include their town manager and Joe. our superintendent, and with a number of 5 to meet with the Chatham folks and take it further to sense what is the Chatham board's support regarding paying that costs for their own elementary school. My comments informally with people I know over there that they are positive thinking on that regard, but I think a formalized, what Tina suggested, the 3 chairs as well as the 2 town managers and our superintendent call a formal meeting together, and it's difficult when it's all virtual, but to call a meeting to follow up on the one we had last month to see what steps the Chatham board plans to take. And then you and the committees can report back to us to see what steps, what positive elements came with it.
Thank you. Our meeting was short to get the ball rolling, and we actually pushed it back to Jill and Joe to put some of the data together and bring back to everyone. So we are trying to address that. Joe, let me ask you, on the agenda, we have 2 items, vote on the regional school district budget and the assessment. What's the intent of that? Are we,
to simply give the board a mechanism by which they could react if Dr. Carpenter was prepared to have a definitive proposal. It's my understanding that we have the budget documents, but we don't have materials in the packet, so I don't know that we want to utilize that mechanism this evening, but I would defer to the board on that. But that agenda item was put in there to give the board flexibility to act on the assessment issue.
Because I'm not sure. I mean, it was a very good presentation. It was very explanatory. I learned, well done. But I don't see myself whether there was anything to vote on that. Am I wrong?
You are correct.
Okay, so the plan is to bring this back with a definitive number then?
So it would be my intent, Mr. Chairman, to follow on the meeting that you and I had with each of our counterparts in Chatham, to follow up with Dr. Carpenter and Mr. McMillan and others, and come back sooner rather than later for a discussion point on that. Again, specifically this evening, the timing of this was for the board to hear specifically on the fiscal year 22 budget as you're about to enter into all of the articles for the warrant. And of course, one of those would be related to the school district.
Okay. There's no other comments then, Michael? Do you have
You want to vote on the school budget now?
Well, I guess we don't have a definitive number. Is that right, Joe? We have a number.
We have a number. There's a number on the draft warrant, and I would recommend that you proceed to that discussion under the overall warrant discussion.
And Larry, that's where I'm going. I think that it's more appropriate for us to vote at once when we're voting the warrant.
I'm sorry, Michael. Say that again to me.
We're getting into the warrant discussion next. I just soon tackle it in the warrant.
Let's move on the warrant then.
And then the only other question is the second item that's on there to vote the assessment. The assessment is the assessment, and that's got nothing to do with the warrant. So at the board's pleasure, I guess. I don't think we have a choice, but we don't have to vote.
I agree. I don't think we have a choice at this point.
And we don't really have to vote the assessment, right, Joe? That's not
correct. That agenda item was getting to an assessment discussion.
Okay.
I did not want to use the word alternative. I did not want to use the word amended. It was getting to the overall assessment concept that we've been talking about for months.
Okay.
So then let's move on to the warrant at this point. As we go through the warrant, and Joe, I'll let you lead this. Michael suggested, which is a good idea, that he'll at each warrant article he'll make a positive motion, so it moves it ahead, and that will allow us to debate and either vote in favor or against. But it'll simplify in some ways the process.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And if I can build off of that and for the board's benefit, first let me offer for everybody my apologies. There's several documents that were added to the packet material. So anybody that is trying to follow along, what I would suggest if you go on the town's website under the Board of Selectmen and you look on the right-hand side to the agenda page, you would want to avail yourself of the documents under the 5th bullet point from the top. I'll be referencing to those and sharing my screen momentarily, but those are the latest updated information on all the warrant articles. Again, that's on the town's website under Board of Selectmen agenda, and it's the revised agenda packet, bullet point 5 from the top. Mr. Chairman and members of the board, what I would respectfully request is as we proceed through the warrant articles this evening, what you have in front of you is a draft warrant, and I would suggest that some of the appropriate motions would be if an article is intended by the board to continue on, that a motion be made to place the article in the final warrant. And of course, a second in the discussion on that. If there is an article that the board wishes to not continue on, I would ask that a motion to withdraw an article from the draft warrant be made. And then once we've done that, if you've decided to place it on the warrant, then if you wanted to have a second motion that gets to some level of recommendation, which traditionally in the past you have done a motion to accept and adopt the article as printed. So again, first, if an item was going to be placed, that it be voted to be placed in the final warrant. If an article is deemed to be withdrawn, it should be a motion to withdraw from the draft warrant, and then recommended actions after that. Lastly, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to be relying upon the materials in the packet that begin on the PDF version of the packet. Actually on, of course, I just had to bear with me, please. I apologize. Starting on page 201 of the PDF. Again, this is the document that is 327 pages, and I will be making reference to pages beginning on 201. Mr. Chairman, what I have is a memo that briefly updates the latest revisions of the warrant that I think the board may find helpful. The warrant itself, an index spreadsheet of 3 pages or 2 pages, I believe. And then we also have specific budget information that the finance director can review as we get into the budget articles, starting with Article 4. And then last but not least, I would remind the board that we have a proposed warrant article regarding a granting of a permanent easement. So at some point, I would be asking the board to consider inserting that into the final warrant and numbering. Mr. Chairman, unless there's questions, what I'd like to do now is share my screen very briefly to go over the memorandum that I released this afternoon to, again, just update everybody on where we are with the warrant and some next steps.
Okay.
So hopefully anyone viewing can see the memorandum that I'm showing here. Again, the board already has this in your packet. But first, there are articles that were deemed as late articles for review by council. These are 3 articles that relate to the water department and capital projects. I want to emphasize very firmly that late articles for review by council is not because council was derelict in their duties, but because I inadvertently forgot to include them, and I want to thank the finance director and the water superintendent for bringing those to my attention. So those are the first pages you'll see after the memorandum are those 3 articles that were not in previous drafts. Then after that, you get into the actual draft warrant itself, most recently revised from what you had yesterday to what is now in this packet tonight. And that shows that there were changes in language to Articles 9, 22, 40, and 41, and I'll be able to explain those if necessary as we get through it. There was a correction to Article 23 on the dollar amount. And as I mentioned, Articles 24, 25, and 26, which were added. And then lastly, I incorrectly removed the previous draft article on select board language because the board did not take any action on that. So I reinserted that. And quite frankly, out of the interest of time, I threw it at the back. So it is Article 54. And like I said, Mr. Chairman, there is an index if you want to reference that as well.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Chairman, what I can do is either we can start with the water articles, or perhaps it would be easier to get into the revised warrant now that I've identified what is in the revised warrant for consideration by the board.
Can we go through them just numerically? And
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. So then, as you can see, I'm sharing my screen. And this begins in the packet on page, sorry, wrong one. I apologize.
You said page 201 before, right?
Correct. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So page 210 in the PDF gets us into the updated warrant. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can actually converse with you folks, but it would begin with that. So Mr. Chairman, then we would have Article 1, which is a customary article.
Larry, I'm ready to
Michael,
go.
will you start then? Yes, please.
I absolutely will. And Joe, just for clarification, I am going to read off of the, and I assume it's the same, I'm going to read off of the email today with the attachment.
That's correct. Yes, correct. Thank you.
That's on my screen. Joe, prior to reading articles with money, I guess I'll ask you for the number to make sure that the numbers are consistent.
Thank you. And if I could just say right up front, I would be seeking the assistance of our finance director. As you know, in your packet, you do have a memorandum from the finance director to me about updated numbers that will impact upon Article 4, the operating budget. But we can certainly progress to the first three.
Okay. And I would ask Megan on 1, 2, and 3, did we vote any of these three last week?
No, the only ones you voted last week were item 50, 51, 52, and 53.
And were those old numbers, Megan, or those this draft's numbers?
That is this draft numbers. Those are the promote the town of Harwich, defray the cost for other libraries, supplemental allocation for local cultural council, and the herring fisheries.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, on Article 1, I move that we place Article 1 to choose various town officials and committees in the warrant.
The final one.
And do I have to say final? I'm just saying warrant. I'll say final if you want.
It's preferred just to differentiate, please,
Okay.
and thank you.
In the final warrant.
Final one. Is there a second? Joel, let me ask you, some of these routine, do we have to have separate motions for placing in the warrant and adopt and accept, or can we do it as one motion?
I would defer to the board on that. As you know, I do have to record the motions to accept and adopt by roll call.
We'll do it. We'll do it separately. We have a motion for Article 1 and a second. I'll take a roll call. Ed?
All right.
Michael?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. And Michael, then the next part of this.
I move that we recommend Article 1 to choose various town officers and committees.
Accept and adopt?
I don't think we have to. I think recommend is the same as support, which is the same as accept and adopt.
All right, second.
Based on Joe's memo to us today, he said recommend was fine, but I'll do whatever the board's pleasure.
Why don't you go with accept and adopt, just so we're consistent with previous years?
Okay, I move that we accept and adopt Article 1 to choose various town officers and committees.
Second.
Roll call, Ed,
Aye.
Don,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
I'm an aye. Article
I move-
2.
I move that we place Article 2 to hear reports of all town officers and committees for the year 2020 in the final
Okay.
warrant.
Second.
Discussion? A roll call, Michael,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Don,
Aye.
and I'm aye.
I move that we accept and adopt Article 2 to hear reports of all town officers and committees for the year 2020.
Second.
Roll call, I'm an aye. Don,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
I move that we place Article 3 to see if the town will vote the salaries of elected officials of the town for fiscal year commencing July 1st, 2021 and ending June 30th, 2022 in the final warrant. Estimated cost $118,503.
Second.
discussion? Roll call, Ed,
Aye.
Don,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
and I'm an aye.
I move that we accept and adopt Article 3 elected official salaries in the amount of $118,503.
Second.
Take a roll call, Ed,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Don,
Aye.
and I'm aye.
Okay, Joe, Article 4, $39,027,463.
So, Mr. Chairman and members, if I may, I would just call upon the finance director. I just want to ascertain if I had the correct numbers in there. And again, I know we're going to have perhaps a change or confirming numbers on our Article 5. And I apologize for the confusion and defer to our finance director.
Good evening, everyone.
Evening.
I just would like to confirm with the town administrator, there were 2 different memorandums that were issued, and I didn't see the second one in the packet.
Are you referring to your memorandum of March 22nd?
The 23rd.
I think that was omitted from the packet.
Okay. Okay. So,
That was an inadvertent admission, Carol. That's on me.
no problem.
Does that change the budget number, that memo?
Well, the budget numbers that you have here include that second memorandum of changes, and I can review those with you.
Okay.
So the first memorandum of changes was really asking the board if you would consider restoring the 2 police officers with their salaries and wages and their associated expenses, to fund the longevity of the youth director, to reduce the cemetery travel line item, to make the reduction in Monomoy Regional School District as they have presented this evening. And then we just received last week county assessments and Cape Cod Commission assessments, and those are increasing at a rate where we included 2.5% increase. The county assessment is increasing 6.1%, and the Cape Cod Commission assessment is increasing 5.5%. And that is largely due to the town's equalized valuation, and that's a factor in how these assessments are calculated. So the total overall, there we go. So the total overall reduction for budget in this section is $138,716. We also just received information from Massachusetts Clean Water Trust with regard to the financing schedule for Phase 2, Contract 2. That financing schedule will be delayed until decisions are made with regard to the short-term rental portion of funds that go into the special fund for wastewater on the county level. So they have decided to delay financing, and that has a budget impact for you. In addition to that, we just heard from the town of Chatham, and they will be billing, are going to wait to bill us for pump station, the Chatham pump station. I specifically requested that they not bill us until after July 1st, and they have agreed. And that also has implications for the budget, because we were going to have to borrow those funds in this fiscal year, which we would have payments due in FY22. So these are significant numbers that just came about, which would have a budget reduction of $1,032,144. This is all excluded debt, so it's not as if you have available $1 million to spend, but it does reduce significantly the amount that would be raised in your tax levy. So that was prior to these changes. That tax levy was, I think, a 4.3% increase. This has reduced it significantly down to 2.4. So I would hope that the board would consider these changes. In I guess, retrospect, I did include them in the numbers that you would be voting for Article 4 and for Monomoy Regional School District's article. I'll take any questions that you have.
Carol or Larry, if I may.
Sure.
Carol, so the number that's in the packet, the 39,027,463, that's the all-in number with the changes that you proposed in your memo?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
And then Larry, I actually in my motion tonight, and I hadn't talked to Carol, nor have I seen this motion. I was going to amend it by adding those 2 police positions into it. So I fully support the 2 police positions, and I think it's important to note to the public that we have 2 positions that we haven't filled. We also have 2 police officers out right now, so we're down a total of 4. And you don't just hire a police officer. It's about a year process to put one on the road after you do the hiring. Yeah. And I think with 2 out injured and 2 vacant positions, if much else goes wrong, all that's going to do is change our overtime number drastically. And I think it'd be a lot more responsible as board to support those 2 positions than not. Lastly, the rest of the changes make sense to me, and I will fully support the budget with the changes Carol presented.
I agree. I think all of us were looking for ways to fund the 2 additional police officers and had those discussions. So, Michael, you want to make the motion including that number?
I am prepared. Let me just get my screen back up. Okay, I move that we move to place Article 4 Town Operating Budget in the amount of $39,027,463, estimated cost of $39,027,463 as presented.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? This is good news because we really wanted to fund those positions. And so thanks, Carol and Joel, for putting that together.
Mr. Chairman, if I could very quickly, it's great news, and I do apologize because I do hope everybody understands the exceptional news that this represents. Carol has done a great job to keep this updated. And when you look at the actual documentation that should have been included in the packet, which we will get out as quickly as possible, to see that levy limit go down to that amount because of the delay in the borrowings is just all of it together is some great news and I hope to build on that positive vibe going forward for town meeting. And I don't want anyone to lose sight of the exceptional message that is coming from our finance director this evening. Thank you.
We have a motion and a second. I'll take a roll call. Don?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
And I'm an aye.
I move that we
Now
accept
we
and
get to
adopt.
the school budget.
Nope.
Nope.
I move that we accept and adopt Article 4, town operating budget, $39,027,463.
Second.
You have to watch me. I tend to want to jump ahead, but we have a motion and a second. I'll take a roll call. Don?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
And I'm an aye.
I move that we vote to place Article 5, Monomoy Regional School District Budget. Actually, let me back up. Can I confirm that this $27,361,049 is correct?
The number is correct. We did not include the governor's draft budget that would reduce the assessment by 89,000 because it is draft. And so we felt that it was, I guess, safer to use the numbers that that Monomoy had provided to us, absent any of those credits for an assessment.
And if those two come through, we can change those by motion at town meeting, so.
Thank you. I move that we place Article 5, Monomoy Regional School District budget of $27,361,049 in the final warrant.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, I'll take a vote. Michael?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
And I'm an aye.
I move that we accept and adopt Article 5, Monomoy Regional School District budget in the estimated amount of $27,361,049.
Second.
Discussion, Larry?
Yes, please. Which?
I'm going to reiterate what I said.
Okay, I saw, yeah.
I'm going to reiterate what I said before, and I do appreciate the school committee and Dr. Carpenter, along with their finance person, the attempt at reducing the budget. I still disagree with some of it, but I will be supporting this budget.
Don?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree with Michael, and I stated that earlier. I have great respect for the efforts that they put into reducing this, but it's not a durable long-term solution. And the message I want our colleagues in Chatham's Board of Selectmen or Select Board to get is that I'm begrudgingly agreeing to this, but a permanent solution has to be found. And if we don't find one next year, I'm going to start becoming a little bit more hostile to accepting and adopting.
Yeah. I think we're unified in wanting with that statement, and we have to do it quickly. Ed?
Yeah, I think, we all agree on that, and it was suggested earlier that we have our three chairs come together and begin that process, but I think it's important that all of us on this board reach out to our fellow selectmen in Chatham and have that discussion individually. I think it would go a long way to getting us all to come to agreement.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second. Take a roll call. Ed?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
And I'm an aye.
I move that we place Article 6, Cape Cod Regional Technical School District budget, $1,536,309 in the final warrant.
Second.
And Michael, you forgot to ask if that's the correct number.
Is that the correct number?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. And I should throw estimated in front of that, correct, in case anything changes?
That would be helpful. Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Estimated is in my motion.
Do we have a second?
Yep, did.
Okay, thank you, Don. Any discussion? Take a roll call. Michael?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
And I'm aye.
I move that we accept and adopt Article 6, Cape Cod Regional Technical School District budget in the estimated amount of $1,536,309.
Second.
Take a roll call. I'm an aye. Ed?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Joe.
if I may, I would ask the board to return to Article 3. The finance director has alerted me to my scrivener's error. The estimated cost for Article 3 should be $128,503 and not $118,503 as listed. So the number should be, estimated cost for Article 3 is $128,503.
That was my motion.
Thank you.
That was my second.
Thank you.
Okay. We'll move
Wonderful.
on then.
Okay,
Thank you all.
Article 7, is this the correct amount? $4,223,405?
Yes, it is.
I move that we place Article 7 Water Department budget in the amount of $4,223,405 in the final warrant.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Ed?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Don?
Oops. Aye.
Thank you, Don.
I move, and Larry, you're an aye?
I'm an aye. I
Okay.
started it, I think.
I move,
Go
oh,
ahead.
good. I move that we accept and adopt Article 7 Water Department budget, estimated $4,223,405.
Second.
I'll take a roll call. Don?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
And I'm aye.
Article 8, is this the correct amount?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. I move that we place Article 8 wastewater department budget in the amount of $515,331 in the final warrant.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call. Ed?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
And I'm aye.
I move that we accept and adopt Article 8 wastewater department budget in the amount of estimated amount of $515,331.
Second.
I'll take a roll call and I'll start. Aye. Ed?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Okay, I move that we place in the warrant Article 9, Public Education and Government PEG Access and Cable-Related Fund for Public Access in the warrant.
Second.
In the estimated amount of $150,994.
Second.
Larry, just
Discussion?
quick discussion. Just to point out for anyone listening, this is actually paid by Comcast. So this is reimbursed by Comcast.
Yep. We paid indirectly through our Comcast bills.
And this is for Channel 18.
Yep. We have a motion and a second, and we've had some discussion. I'll take a roll call then. Michael?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
And I'm aye.
I move that we accept and adopt Article 9, Public Education and Government PEG Access and Cable-Related Fund for Public Access.
Second.
Roll call. Don?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
And I'm aye.
I move that we place in the warrant, in the final warrant, Article 10, Lease Purchase Agreements.
Second.
Discussion? I'll take a roll call then. Ed?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
And I'm an aye.
I move that we accept and adopt Article 10, Lease Purchase Agreements.
Second.
Roll call. Michael?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
And I'm an aye.
I move that we place in the final warrant, Article 11, adopt the capital plan.
Second.
Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, the explanation makes a reference to a future article. That article number is incorrect. I'm just looking for the correct number. That's a scrivener's error. I just wanted to make the board aware of that. I can correct that. You can see in the second line, it says Article 33. That's not the right number, but I can change that later if the board's okay with that.
And that doesn't change our motion, so we can.
Correct.
Thank you for that, Joe. We have a
Okay.
motion.
So you
and a
changed
second.
36, Article 33.
That is the incorrect article, I guess.
Okay.
Right. Yep.
Thank you.
We have a motion and a second. I'll go with roll call. Michael?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Michael, or Ed, sorry.
Aye.
And I'm aye.
Move that we accept and adopt Article 11, adopt the capital plan as amended.
Second.
I'll take a roll call. Ed?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
I'm aye.
Okay, Article 12, I move that we place in the warrant Article 12, capital items funded from free cash, items under 50,000. And this is for the police department, digital fingerprint machine at 18,000.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call. Ed?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
I'm aye.
Move that we accept and adopt Article 12, capital items funded from free cash, items under 50,000 for the police department, digital fingerprint machine of $18,000.
Second.
Roll call. I'm an aye. Ed?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
I forgot what that motion was, Larry. Was that to accept and adopt?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, I want to make sure I hit the second part. I move that we place in the warrant Article 13, final warrant, Article 13, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate, transfer from available funds, or borrow sufficient sum of money for engineering and surveying services necessary for the preparation of plans and bid processes for proposed sidewalks from the community center to the cultural center and act fully thereon. Estimated cost of $50,000.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, except I'm happy we're moving forward on this. It's greatly needed for safety of people through town. I'll take a roll call. Ed?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
And I'm aye.
I apologize for reading so much. It was on another page, but I just found the title for this article. So I move that we accept and adopt Article 13, funds for support of ADA compliant sidewalks through Harwich Center, estimated cost of $50,000.
Second.
Roll call. Don?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
And I'm aye.
I move that we place Article 14, sidewalks from Saquatucket Harbor to Harwich Port, in the final warrant, estimated cost of $200,000.
Second.
Second.
Discussion? A roll call. I'm an aye. Ed?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
I move that we accept and adopt Article 14, sidewalks from Saquatucket Harbor to Harwich Port, in the estimated amount of $200,000.
Second.
Roll call. Don?
Aye.
You said aye.
Don?
I said aye.
Oh, I'm sorry. Michael?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
I'm aye.
I move that we place in the place Article 15, funds for the MS4 mandated stormwater permitting and management program, estimated amount of $200,000 in the final warrant.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call. Ed?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
And I'm aye.
I move that we place in the warrant Oh, I move that we accept and adopt Article 15, funds for the MS4 mandated stormwater permitting and management program, estimated cost of $200,000.
Second.
Roll call, Michael?
Aye.
I'm aye. Ed?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
I move that we place Article 16, Brooks Free Library roof replacement, estimated cost $148,500 in the final warrant.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, Michael?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
And I'm aye.
I move that we accept and adopt Article 16, Brooks Free Library roof replacement in the amount of $148,500.
Second.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, I'm an aye. Michael?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
I move that we withdraw Article 17, funds for roof repairs at 5 Bells Neck Road from the warrant.
Is there a second?
I'll second it for discussion purposes.
I would give my explanation for the withdrawal, and the explanation is as simple as we're selling the building. To put $50,000 into something we're going to sell makes no sense to me at all.
Can I ask the town administrator how much deterioration is going on because of this? Or?
Sure. I guess my overall response would be that that number is meant to be there in case Article, and by the way, this updates the explanation. If Article 44 allowing for the sale of that is not adopted, that dollar amount would be needed, or up to that dollar amount would be needed to secure that roof. What I'm really trying to accomplish between Article 17 and Article 44 is a belt and suspenders approach. The effort would first be to engage in the RFP for the sale of that building. You'll see in the Article 44, it does have the historic restriction, preservation restriction that we talked about previously. I just needed to have that in the background in case something went wrong. It's entirely possible that the sale will go through before the roof repair, but I just wanted to have a belt and suspenders approach, and I will abide by any action of this board.
Well, it was out of
questions,
sequence.
comments?
It's out of sequence in any event.
Yeah, I would, I'm with that. I appreciate your explanation, Joe, but I'd be more comfortable if this were either resequenced or specifically dependent on Article 44.
Understood.
Ed?
Yeah, you know, I guess I think we need to have this available. Just because it gets voted to be sold doesn't mean that it is going to be sold. That we'll find a buyer that has the wherewithal and the type of experience and desire in use of the building that can complete a sale. And I would hate to have the building to start to collapse in anticipation that someday it may be sold.
Larry, I could go either way on this. I could make a new motion to resequence, or a new motion contingent upon the sale. But in my mind, it's irrelevant whether the building sells or not for that purpose. If we can't find somebody for that purpose, it's time to dispose of this building. And whether we go to a housing unit or anything else, if town meeting votes for us to sell this building, but putting another $50,000 into a building that's been empty for 30 years is a waste of taxpayers' money. So rather than debate this, I don't have a problem changing the language, or we can bring this one back resequenced and have a conversation next Monday before we vote to sign the final.
Let's
right,
bring
so
it
I'll-
back and let's bring it back and re-sequence it.
I'll
So
remove
Mr. Sure.
my motion if Don removes his second.
I will. Thank you.
Okay. Moving
Right.
on to Article 18.
If
No,
I
Joe,
just,
excuse me, Michael, Joe.
just for my own edification, is the board suggesting by resequencing that you would want the RFP article to appear before this article?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and so what I would argue that when we get to Article 44, you could have us have the motion to place it before Article, what's known as Article 17.
Yeah, so I'll
Thank
change
you.
44 to 17, right, Joe?
Correct.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you.
Okay, I move to place in the final warrant Article 18, public safety radios in the estimated cost of $223,204.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call. Michael,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Don,
Aye.
am I.
I move that we accept and adopt Article 18, public safety radios with the estimated cost of $223,204.
Second.
Roll call. Ed,
Aye.
Don,
Aye.
I'm I. Michael,
I'm an aye. All right, so that was the accept and adopt. So we go to, I move that we
19.
place Article 19 in the final warrant, purchase of a combination pumper ladder fire truck in the
Second.
estimated amount of $1,138,000.
Second.
second. Thank you, Ed. Discussion?
Only discussion I'd have on this is I did have a conversation with the chief, and given the amount of money that we're spending on the other ladder truck and trying to keep things on the road, this does make sense to me.
Yeah. And this was a commitment we made a couple years ago when they resequenced the ladder and the quint. So I agree.
Looking forward, Larry, if I may, and sorry if I interrupted somebody.
Yeah.
Looking forward, it would be nice if we were presented, and I do believe that when this originally came up a couple of years ago, that it was at least explored leasing versus purchasing, and then how long we keep this equipment for, and if it makes sense to start to lease some of this rather than purchase. But I would definitely hold that conversation for another time.
Mr.
We have
Chair?
Don?
Yeah, I just also want to point out that we go foregoing two pieces of equipment for this one, which is much cheaper overall, and they also deferred it for a year. So, I mean, they've been very cooperative in this.
They certainly have. A roll call. Don, I'll go back to you then.
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
and I'm I.
I move that we accept and adopt Article 19, purchase of a combination pumper ladder fire truck in the estimated cost of $1,138,000.
Second.
Second.
Roll call. Ed,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Don,
Aye.
and I'm I.
Move that we place Article 20, fund the FY 2022 road maintenance program in the amount of $700,000 into the final warrant.
Second.
Discussion? We'll go roll call then. Don,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
I'm I.
I move that we accept and adopt Article 20, fund the FY 2022 road maintenance program with the estimated cost of $700,000.
Second.
Roll call. Ed,
Aye.
Don,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
and I.
I move that we place Article 21, purchase and equip vehicles for the Department of Public Works, the total cost of $460,000 in the final warrant.
Is there a second?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
just to
Joe.
advise the board, there's a scrivener's omission in that first table that says purchase and equip vehicles under vehicle type. Front end loader should be followed by the words or equivalent, as you see with all the others. So those
Okay.
words or equivalent will be added to that first line.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We have a motion and a second. Other discussion?
The only Larry, if I may,
Sure.
the only discussion I have is, like the previous comment on the ladder truck, the DPW has, for the last few years at least, I know we've really asked a lot of questions and deferred some vehicles. And in a conversation with Lincoln Hooper, the mileage on some of these vehicles far exceed what we should be putting our town employees in, and the useful life of the front end loader that we're replacing, it's over. So I normally do question a lot of the vehicle purchases, and I would say on this one, I really can't create an argument not to purchase these.
Thank you, Michael. Let me just make a general comment to expand on that a bit. We're going through these motions, these articles quickly, but primarily that's because we spent last week with a series of 4 meetings with department heads going through them in detail. So we have seen these and discussed these previously, and now we're voting and occasionally having some discussion. But we've had we're not going quite as quickly and as certainly not superficially, if that's what may appear to anyone tuning in. We have a motion and a second to place on the warrant. Take a roll call. Ed?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
And I'm aye.
I move that we accept and adopt Article 21, purchase and equip vehicles for the Department of Public Works.
Second.
Roll call. Don?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
I move that we place Article 22, Public Education and Government, Access and Cable-Related Fund for hearing room and studio improvements with an estimated cost of $99,254 in the final warrant.
Second.
And I think, I forget who made the comment before, but it's the same comment. This is being paid by the cable fund. Take a roll call. I'm an aye. Ed?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
I move that we accept and adopt Article 22, Public Education and Government, Access and Cable-Related Fund for hearing room and studio improvements in the amount of $99,254.
Second.
Roll call. Don?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
I'm aye.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I've been sort of keeping track of the time it's taking us to go through this, and it's an important exercise to do, but at the current rate, we'll be coming up on 9:45, 9:50 before we're completed with approving the articles in the draft warrant. And I'm just wondering if we are going to anticipate having any additional discussion on the comprehensive wastewater management plan after that time, or whether we're pushing our luck in.
We're going to be, Joe, what's your, that's good. We're going to be lucky to get through the warrant articles tonight.
So I know we have wastewater superintendent Dan Pelletier. We have Mark Drainville and Russ Kleekamp from GHD. If you want, we can engage in a quick conversation right now on that, Mr. Chairman.
I'm not sure there's anything wastewater that's quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. That's the problem.
Or does it make sense to move it till Monday?
I think, in my opinion, Larry, if it doesn't upset the ones that have sat on this meeting and listened to this, and we can move it till Monday, that would be my preference. If it's something quick, I do agree with Ed. We shouldn't keep people on the call until, as long as we have to stay on the call that don't want to. So I would say Dan Pelletier, maybe, if it can wait. And if not, let's
Dan
talk about it now.
Dan and Griffin and Russ, does that work?
I mean, my thing tonight was relatively quick, but whatever the board's pleasure, we can bring it back if that's a choice. We're here usually on Mondays anyway, so.
Let's bring it back next week then.
Okay.
I would, Larry, go ahead, Ed.
And the other question is, in the packet that we received, there wasn't really any material on this item in the packet at all. In what appeared in my packet anyway, where I expected to see something on the CAD modeling program, was all the documentation on the Verizon easement that we approved last week. And I was wondering if there were any materials that we were supposed to be able to review.
Well, we wanted to shorten this. Let's bring this back next week then.
Yeah.
We're sure we have the right packet material.
And
Dan?
if I may, Ed, there wasn't anything in the packet tonight.
Okay.
Intentionally, it really was just kind of to be an introduction, kickoff, and really kind of next steps in the immediate future.
Great.
Okay.
Larry, if I may.
We're on Article 23.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to really quickly thank Dan and Griffin and Russ, particularly Russ, as he does not work for the town, he contracts for the town, for listening to what you've listened to so far. But thank you, Russ.
We're granting you clemency.
All right, I'm on Article 23. I move that we place Article 23, land acquisitions for the protection of a wellhead and water supply, with an estimated cost of $175,000 in the final warrant.
Second.
That's Article 23.
Yeah, Mr.
Yes.
Chairman, if I may, this is
That's a different number. Is that?
so, Mr. Chairman, this is the first of the 3 new articles that I made reference to in my memo that was sent out to the board at 4:29 tonight. And very quickly, you have heard of these 3 articles because they were in the capital plan that was reviewed. The first one here is $175,000, and you can see that the wastewater superintendent is already working for potential reimbursement from Cape Cod Commission in support of this from the mitigation funds that we have. If need be, I can go into greater detail.
I don't think so. Is there a second?
Yeah, there was.
Any other discussion?
Larry, my only point of discussion is to just let the taxpayers and anyone listening know this is coming out of the water enterprise retained earnings.
Okay, thank you for that. We'll take a roll call. Don?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
And I'm aye.
I move that we accept and adopt Article 23, land acquisitions for the protection of wellhead and water supply, with the estimated cost of $175,000.
Second.
Roll call. Ed?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
And I'm aye.
Move that we accept and, I move that we place in the final warrant Article 24, new source exploration for town water supply, with an estimated cost of $250,000.
Second.
Discussion?
Only discussion is the same. This is out of water enterprise retained earnings.
Yep. Roll call then. I'm an aye. Ed?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Move that we accept and adopt Article 24, new source exploration for town water supply, in the amount of estimated cost of $250,000.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call. Don?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
And I'm aye.
Okay, I move that we place Article 25, Route 28 water main replacement designs, with an estimated cost of $500,000 to be paid for out of water enterprise retained earnings in the final warrant.
Second.
Second. Discussion? Roll call. Ed?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
And I'm aye.
I move that we accept and adopt Article 25, Route 28 Water Main Replacement Design, estimated cost of $500,000.
Second.
Roll call, Ed,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Don,
Aye.
and I'm aye.
Mr.
Move that
Chairman,
we-
Yes, Joe.
I apologize. Just a quick update in the explanation. There's a scrivener's error that will be corrected. The first word on the last line should be appropriation, not appropriating. That's again under the explanation.
Okay, thank you for that.
Okay, I move we place Article 26, Station 8 generator, with an estimated cost of $50,000 in the final warrant.
Second.
Roll call, Ed,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Don,
Aye.
and I'm aye.
And just a quick explanation for the public that don't know what Station 8 generator means. This is also a Water Department, Water Enterprise article, and it's the Water Department is seeking funds to replace a 2005 Generac generator located at Station 8, which provides backup power to well number 8 and the corrosion control facility on Bat Road. So it is related to our water supply. With that, I move that we accept and adopt Article 26, Station 8 generator with an estimated cost of $50,000.
Second.
Second.
Roll call, Michael,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Don,
Aye.
and I'm aye.
Okay, I move we place Article 27, appropriate sums of money from the FY 2022 estimated annual revenues of the Community Preservation Act in the amount of,
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
go ahead.
Joe?
the
Go
dollar amounts for the three buckets there should be corrected to be $161,171. So again, the three buckets under Community Housing Reserve, Open Space Reserve, and Historic Preservation Reserve should be corrected and should read $161,171 for each of the three.
In the amount of $161,171 in the
Second.
final.
And the undesignated fund stays the same, Joe?
Correct, but it should be referenced.
These, just as a point of, just a comment, these next few articles are all Community Preservation Act articles.
Larry?
Michael's made a motion. Is there a second?
I did.
Any discussion?
Well, he gave a total of 161 and change, and it's actually 161 and change 3 times plus 25,000 for the operating expenses.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, just so we're clear.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you, Ed. Roll call, Ed,
Aye.
Michael,
I'm aye.
Don,
Aye.
and I'm aye.
Move we accept and adopt Article 27, appropriate sums of money from the FY 2022 estimated annual revenues of the Community Preservation Act, the amount of $161,171 in each bucket.
Plus the 25,000. Second.
Roll call, Don,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
and I'm aye.
Okay, I move that we place Article 28, Fund Land Bank Debt Service with an estimated cost of $223,050 in the final warrant.
Second.
Roll call, Don,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
and I'm aye.
I move that we accept and adopt Article 28, Fund Land Bank Debt Service in the estimated amount of $223,050.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, I'm aye. Ed,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Don,
Aye.
I move that we place Article 29, Community Preservation Activities under $50,000 in the estimated amount of $127,066 in the final warrant.
Second.
Second.
Roll call, Don,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
I'm aye.
I move that we accept and adopt Article 29, Community Preservation Activities under $50,000 with the estimated total of $127,066.
Second.
Roll call, Don,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
and I'm aye.
Okay. Article 30, I move that we place Article 30, East Harwich Methodist Church Cemetery Gravestone Project, estimated cost of $112,200 in the final warrant.
Second.
Roll call, Don,
It's my church. I'm going to abstain.
okay. Michael,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
and I'm aye.
I move that we accept and adopt East Harwich Methodist Church Cemetery Gravestone Project in the estimated amount of $112,200.
Second.
Take a roll call, Ed,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Don,
I'm recusing.
and
Abstain?
I'm aye.
Abstain, right?
Abstaining, right?
Abstain, yeah.
Okay, Article 31, I move that we place Article 31, Brooks Academy Structural Improvements Project with an estimated cost of $1,150,000 in the final warrant.
Second.
Okay, roll call, Don,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
and I'm aye.
I move that we accept and adopt Article 31, Brooks Academy Structural Improvements Project with the estimated cost of $1,150,000.
Second.
Roll call, I'm aye. Ed,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Don,
Aye.
Quick comment, if I may, Larry. We skipped discussion, which is okay because I know we're trying to move through this. But this project, I think, to some, they want to recognize that this isn't the end of this. This is the beginning of this. But this is an extremely important structure to the town of Harwich, and though it's going to cost more in the years to come, I hope that people support this and recognize that we tore down the Exchange building and we shouldn't make that mistake again. So I'm committed to the larger number over the next 3 or 4 or 5 years to get this building in good shape and something we can be proud of.
Larry?
good comment. Ed?
Yeah, I'm actually quite pleased to see this article and be supporting it. 2004, I believe. As chair then of the Brooks Academy Museum Commission, we brought the article to town meeting to rebuild and stabilize the front facade of that building. So I'm glad to see that we're continuing to preserve this cherished building in the center of our town.
We have a motion and a second. I'll go with roll call then. Ed?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Don?
In the pocket.
And I'm aye.
Okay,
Alan?
Article 32. I move that we place Article 32.
No, Michael, don't you, you place that in the warrant. We have to adopt and accept this too?
Well, the last one, the last motion was to support. I think we had 2 motions on the last one, correct? Yeah, we did. The last one, and I reserved my comments to the support part of it, so I know I did that.
I lost track of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, so Article 32, I move that we place Article 32, fund a part-time housing coordinator on the with an estimated cost of $50,000 on the final warrant.
Second.
Discussion?
A little bit of discussion on this, and I don't want to get hung up on it tonight, but we're going from $30,000 to $50,000 for a housing coordinator, and it's still it still uses the title part-time housing coordinator. And at some point, I'd like to get an explanation of what this person's going to do. I still feel like we're stuck with a major housing need, but nobody to call if people need housing. And I don't believe that that's going to be part of this job description. And as I said, I don't want to hang up tonight anymore, but at some point, I'm going to abstain on my support of it. But at some point, I think the board needs to understand what this person's going to do, exact role, and why we're going from 30,000 to 50,000.
Yeah, thank you for that, Michael. I know Don and I have had some discussion on that as well, and their group has, is providing a broader support for the community. But let's bring that back.
It's not likely, Mr. Chair, to be done contractually because this is for fiscal 22, not 21.
Yeah. We'll need to bring that back as we go forward. In saying that, I'll take a roll call. Don?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
And I'm aye.
I move that we accept and adopt Article 32, fund a part-time housing coordinator with an estimated cost of $50,000.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call. Ed?
Aye.
Michael?
Abstain.
Don?
Aye.
And I'm aye.
All right. Okay, so I move that we include Article 33, Hinkley's Pond Watershed Preservation Project in the final warrant.
Second.
Estimated cost of $360,000, sorry.
Second.
Discussion?
Yes, Larry. Article 33, in the actual body of the article, it says land located on Headwaters Drive and identified on Assessor's Parcel 81-G1. In the description, it goes on to say all of the other lots. Why wouldn't the warrant article itself list all of the lots? That would be my first question. Second question is, it says under the care, custody, and control, and maybe I'm using the words wrong, of the Conservation Commission. We as a board voted that it would stay under the custody of the Board of Selectmen. At very least, the access to the water and that water piece. So can somebody give me an explanation of this, please?
Certainly, if I could very quickly. This was reviewed by council this week so that I could present to the Community Preservation Committee the other evening. What I'd like to do is ask the board to hold off on this one so that I can vet those questions more directly with council.
Okay.
Okay. Is that okay? We'll hold this off then.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Don?
But Joe, as you talk to council, point out that we have voted, that's our desire, is we did not want Conservation Commission to have control. They might be designated as the point person for us, but not the control automatically.
And could someone direct me, here we go, said parcel to be held by the Conservation Commission pursuant to, that's a line that needs to be vetted, correct?
Yeah.
And then generally too, we have one parcel referenced in the article, but all the parcels in the explanation, and why aren't the two together? Did I capture those generally?
You did.
All right, thank you.
Don, you're removing your second?
I am.
I'm removing my motion, and I just want to reiterate, we voted as a board, not unanimously, I think it was 3-1, maybe it was 4-1, I'm not sure everybody was there, to support this, but it did include that the Board of Selectmen, not the Conservation, is going to control that parcel of land. So if that changes and council says anything different, then we're going to need to have a motion to reconsider and the board re-vote.
Thank you.
But the way this was voted was exactly what I just described.
Michael's absolutely right.
Okay, I move that we place Article 34, Harwich Natural Heritage Trail Project, with an estimated cost of $150,000 in the final warrant.
Second.
Discussion?
Only discussion I will have is at a previous meeting, I did mention that why would we fund this if they don't have any parking? And that was related to the sale of the Bank Street property and the fact that the board may or the town may or may not own that property. And it's been assured to me that they have other parking on the site available, so I will support this.
Okay. Thank you. I'll take a roll call then. Don?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Ed? You're muted, Ed.
Aye.
And I'm aye.
I move that we accept and adopt Article 34, Harwich Natural Heritage Trail Project, in the estimated amount of $150,000.
Second.
Second.
Roll call. Don?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
And I'm aye.
Move that we place Article 35, Brooks Park Lighting Project, estimated cost of $125,000 in the final warrant.
Second.
Discussion? We'll go roll call. I'm aye. Ed?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Move that we accept and adopt Article 35, Brooks Park Lighting Project, with an estimated cost of $125,000.
Second.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call. Ed?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
And I'm aye.
Move that Article, I'm gonna make a motion in a different way. I'm gonna move that we withdraw Article 36. Actually, we can't because it's a CPC article. I move that we place Article 36, Sand Pond Revitalization Project, estimated cost of $83,500 in the final warrant.
Second.
Second. I'll start this one. I'm going to vote. This is a CPC article, so it has to stay on, but I'm going to not support this. I have difficulties with the money on this this location. We have other recreational areas. There's some question when they presented this of swimming lessons, and that might require alum treatment to work on that pond, which is additional funds going forward. So I had some concerns.
But that would be for the next motion, Mr. Chair. We were obligated to place this on the warrant.
Okay. Remember that then when we get to the next one.
Okay.
We'll take a roll call. Don?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
I'm not sure how to read this because I'm not going to vote to accept and adopt it. Matter of fact, I would vote not to. I would make a motion that we do not support Article 36 for $83,500 for Sand Pond Revitalization Project.
I think that's appropriate. We have a second.
Point of order. Wouldn't that be a motion to indefinitely postpone?
Yes.
Okay, you guys got to help me out with this because I thought that, but we're not.
I don't think we can do that with the CPC article.
Yeah, we can. It's on the warrant.
Okay, I move that we indefinitely postpone.
Joe, before Michael, let Joe weigh in on this.
Based on what I've heard the board, what I would suggest respectfully is that the board make a motion to recommend indefinite postponement.
Yes.
As you know, in the charter, the motions are made by the Finance Committee. The board has placed it correctly into the warrant, but you could recommend that it not go forward, and the most expeditious way might be recommend to indefinite postponement.
Okay.
I move that we
Michael, excuse me. Let me give Ed a chance to comment.
Well, it's true that the Finance Committee makes the motions only to the extent that they're making a positive motion. Otherwise, the moderator will look to someone else for a positive motion first, and presumably the Community Preservation Committee is going to make that positive motion.
Okay, with that, I move that we indefinitely postpone Article 36 Sand Pond Revitalization Project in the amount of $83,500.
Recommend indefinite postponement?
Yes.
Second.
Second. Other discussion?
If I may, Larry,
Yeah.
my discussion is I agree with your comments. I also know we've invested significant amount of money in the park at Brooks Park. We've also invested money in the elementary school playground that's about to be built, and which will be open to taxpayers and residents. And Sand Pond, if you look at the lot at Sand Pond, putting in playground over there, there's not enough. There's enough parking for sure, but I'm not sure that there's enough beach area, and I don't believe in what they're trying to create over there, and I'm not sure the neighborhood welcomes it.
Yeah. Ed?
Yeah, I'm sort of up in the air because, I think the area needs some help and some work, but I'm not necessarily sure that putting a playground is what fills the bill.
Okay, thank you, Ed, for that. We have a motion and a second. I'll take a roll call. Don?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
And I'm aye.
Okay, I move that we place Article 37, amend the Code of the Town of Harwich Charter to amend Chapter 9, Section 6. And this is related to the capital plan in the final warrant.
Second.
There discussion?
Yeah, Larry,
Don?
this was in another life that I helped draft this. I just want to make absolutely certain, through you, Mr. Chair, to the town administrator, this is our second chance for a first impression. We will lock in the relative years then on the plan, because that was the major intent of whether it was 7 or 5 on the motion. The major intent was it's supposed to provide a planning tool, not just for us, but for the taxpayers. And it required an extraordinary 2/3 vote to move something on the plan because there needed to be some assurance about what the next 5-year arc is. But if we got this opportunity, if we change the language, because I know it was muddled the way the motion was made at town meeting, when we went to it. It wasn't about the years really at all. It was about locking in a mandatory capital plan rather than a capital budget.
Yeah. Joel?
If I may, Mr. Chair, yeah, absolutely. And the board has heard me say, I know department heads have heard me say, and committee chairs have heard me say that very soon after this town meeting is adjourned and dissolved, the assistant town administrator and I will be meeting with department heads, boards, committees, and commission chairs to develop a 5-year capital plan, a 5-year CPC plan, and to resume the overall concept of a 5-year financial projection plan. And so the Capital Outlay Committee understands the intent of this article, supports it. The current capital plan was built to mirror this concept going forward. And last but not least, I should be clear in suggesting that if you look at the last line before explanation, technically this is a request by the town administrator, and I have not formally presented this to the board for your action. So I do apologize for that, and I would accept any edits to the requester line if that's the wish of the board.
Any comments?
Sorry, long answer to short question is yes, as Selectman Howell has suggested, is the intent going forward.
Okay. We have a motion. Did we have a second?
Yeah, me.
We had any other discussion? Take a roll call. Don?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
And I'm aye.
Okay, I move that we accept and adopt Article 37 to see if the town will vote to accept and adopt Article 37, amend the Code of the Town of Harwich Charter to amend Chapter 9, Section 6.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call. Ed?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
And I'm aye.
Okay. I move to withdraw Article 38, amend zoning bylaw, Section 325-42, design requirements, subsection L from the final warrant.
Second.
And I gather, Michael, this is in concern of having 54 articles and trying to shorten the meeting.
Larry, it extends beyond that, but that's the basic part of it. I don't believe that this year has been a fair year for public being involved in meetings. I think this whole GoToMeeting platform and everything has really left a lot of people in the dark. So I think that this should be for next year. We should give some education on some of these zoning changes and bring them back next year in a more normal year. But yes, to save some time as well.
Okay. Other discussion? We have a motion and a second. Goes roll call. Don?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Ed?
I abstain.
I'll go aye on this for the reasons that we talked about this.
Okay, I'm going to contradict myself here. Go ahead.
Sorry, if I may, given that we have an opening, if you will, I was wondering if the board would take up, Selectman McManus made reference to it in your packet, but if you see towards the end of all of this material, you have the proposed permanent grant easement for the cell tower that was discussed. The front of that material has the draft warrant article that was provided by council. So the board has vetted the overall proposal, but the board has not been presented with, nor have you included yet, a warrant article to accomplish that. If the board's agreeable, what I'd respectfully request is that we replace, so you've withdrawn Article 38, which is the amending the zoning bylaw. Is the board interested in replacing that with the proposed warrant article for the permanent easement on the cell tower?
So moved.
Which is in your packet.
I think Michael's moving on.
Thank you.
Michael?
So moved, yep.
Second? Don?
Yeah, I'm just going to reiterate what I thought that night. I thought we were extremely poorly represented by our legal counsel in this, and I'm not going to vote for it for that reason.
Okay. We still need a second.
We have a second, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Thank you, Joe.
And for discussion, if I may, very quickly, if anyone's following along in the packet, this particular language is found on page 268 of the packet. And what I'd like to do, Mr. Chairman, is just very quickly show it on the screen so that the viewing public is aware of it. Again, the board has this in your packet. This would be the new proposed Article 38 to see if the town will vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to grant a permanent easement to Cellco Partnership, doing business as Verizon Wireless, for the installation and maintenance of fiber optic cables, communications equipment, and related facilities in, on, and under a portion of the town-owned property located on Harbor Road and identified by the assessors as parcel 15-U23 on such terms and conditions and for such consideration which may be nominal consideration as the board deems appropriate to take any action relative thereto and act fully thereon, and this would then be by request of the Board of Selectmen.
Thank you, Joe. We have a motion and a second to place this on the warrant. I'll go with a roll call then. Michael?
Larry, I just need to ask one question.
Sure.
And I'm just reading through what Joe put on the screen. Joe, the only thing, and we can add it into the motion because I really don't want to hold this up, but the proposal came to us with very specific plans. And I believe I asked this question that night. And I think to some of Don's comments, it was important to me because we're giving them permission to do work with a specific set of plans, not to have a permanent easement to do whatever they want whenever they want. So I would need the article to reflect the plans, the presented plans, in order to support this. And I would be willing to withdraw the motion if Ed would be willing to withdraw the second and bring this one back next week with language that refers to the plans.
If I may respectfully request, could the motion this evening to place the proposed warrant article as presented in the draft warrant, and that will allow me to go back to council. You've got a placeholder there, and you wouldn't take any action other than that. Otherwise, I can do it the other way. It concerns me a little that it's last minute with the Monday meeting.
I'm fine with that, Joe.
You okay
Thank you.
with that?
But
Is that your motion?
that will go back to council as instructed.
Okay.
That's it. That's in my motion.
So
If it's in
the only change in your motion
That's
is
in my second.
final to draft.
Thank
Is there
you.
a second?
It's in-
And Larry,
that's in
again,
my
I just want
second.
to reiterate that it's very important that it was on a specific plan, not carte blanche to do what they want whenever they want.
Yeah, I think in the past, we've normally placed the plan itself in the warrant so people can look at it.
Mr. Chair?
Don?
Yeah, that was what I was alluding to. We got a verbal assurance from our legal counsel that a permanent easement evaporates when the purpose for that easement is gone, but it doesn't actually say that here. It doesn't tie it to a specific set of plans, which when they go away, this goes away.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. We have a motion now in a second. I'll go roll call. Ed?
All right.
Michael?
Aye.
Don?
No.
And I'm an aye.
Okay, I'm going to skip the accept and adopt on that until we get the further information.
Correct.
Okay, so I'm going to contradict myself on a zoning article. I'm going to move that Article 39, amend zoning Article 24 by adding a new section, Section 325-160, design guidelines, to the final warrant.
Second.
Second.
Larry, if I may?
I'll point out that this is West Harwich that we've been supporting for some months now, so I'm sure that you're going to say, but we want to move ahead with this one.
Yeah, Larry, I'm and again, because of time constraints and public participation, eliminating some things from the warrant, or at least recommending. On this one, it's a very it's a very short section. It's been there's been a lot of public involvement, and I believe all the votes on this have been unanimous. It only affects the houses in that defined area, and it's already been voted a DCPC. So I don't see the harm in putting this one on.
Great. Okay. Thank you for that. Take a roll call. Don?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Ed?
All right.
And I'm aye.
I move that we accept and adopt Article 39, amend zoning Article 24 by adding a new section, Section 325-160, design guidelines.
Second.
Roll call. Don?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Ed?
All right.
And I'm aye.
Okay, bear with me a second. Okay, I move that we withdraw from the warrant Article 40, amend general bylaw, Chapter 304, water-dependent structures, from the final warrant.
Second.
There's a second discussion, and I know Brad Chase is on here is on the video from Conservation. I did want to give him a chance to comment on this one.
Yeah, hi Larry, thanks. Brad Chase, Chairman of the Conservation Commission. Thank you for this opportunity. I would just like to encourage the Board of Selectmen to consider this article. It's numerous years in the works. We have last revised the water dependent structure bylaws in 2008. So we view these as essential improvements to clarify the language, to improve the language. And it's similar to the next article and the other two conservation articles. We think they're long times in the works, and we have had multiple public hearings to discuss them. So I understand you have a very full warrant coming up, but we do think that these resources, these natural resources, which are really important to the town of Harwich, are under a lot of pressure. and that was the intent of the Conservation Commission, to try to improve our regulations and ways to reduce them. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. I think a lot of these comments I have on this are, I think, fairly self-explanatory. Adding the elevated walkway, for instance, is a clarification of the bylaws. So I would, I'm supporting, but there we go. Don?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, to Brad. So when was the hearing on this, and how many people attended?
We started discussing these things in 2014. The first specific publicized hearing was 2019, which was a joint hearing with the Waterways Committee. Then we had 2 publicized hearings in 2020, and then we had a 4th in February 2021 where we voted on the changes. And 3 of those were done through Zoom. So I agree, it has been difficult, but we've had participation from the Department of Natural Resources, from the Harbor Master. Amy Usowski has been instrumental the whole way to help us with technical assistance. So I feel that a lot of these are just important improvements, and many of these were voted unanimously. So, 4 meetings is a fair amount of exposure for these. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, my point was the we I'm talking about is not the we Brad is talking about. The we that I'm talking about is the townspeople. And there has not been an opportunity for the last year for anybody to meet in a context of a public hearing for things. The DCPC is a whole different story. That was a massively publicized and participated in endeavor.
Amy, you wish to comment?
Sure. I'll briefly. They were advertised. I mean, we only had a few people from the public attend, but we did try to get the word out there. And also in my recent podcast with the library, there was a segment regarding people encouraging people to look at and comment on sections of the bylaw, as well as before town meeting. I'm hoping to connect with our Channel 18 director and do some more description on that. So the commission actually had 2 public hearings this past in January and in February, and then before that, as Brad said, it was 1 or 2 in 2020, and I don't know the dates, as well as in 2019. So the commission has worked very hard over the past couple of years to put this together, and I just request that it's allowed to be on town meeting to let the townspeople to decide. Thank you.
Is there other discussion?
Larry?
Yes, Mike.
Michael, I do want to say that I appreciate the commission's work on this and Amy's words as well. I brought this up, and will relate to the next article, conservation article. I brought this up last year when we voted not to put that one on town meeting. These things really need to come to the board level, and they need to come in way of a presentation or a public hearing. And I mean that we vote to refer it back to these planning board or conservation for public hearings, and then it never really comes back before us, and we've had no discussion on the board level on this. And I say that it is their duty for the regulatory piece, but it's our duty to let the taxpayers know what's going on. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. It has not been a fair year, nor was last year, for people to have public participation. And as routine as this may be, if it draws an extra half an hour's attention at town meeting being debated, I don't think it's worth putting it on this year. And I realize how sensitive it is, but we need to pare the warrant down, and we need to educate the public more on these things, and we're not doing our job doing that. And that's not a slight on the Conservation Commission. I think it's a slight on the board. We need to make a policy maybe that these things come back before us to have an explanation and comment, because more people are watching Selectmen's meeting, maybe not a lot more, than they are watching the conservation meetings. And that's it. Really the same argument as last year, and I just don't think it's time to put this on the warrant.
Any other discussion? I'll take a roll call vote then. Don?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Ed?
No.
Yeah, I'm a no on this one as well.
Well, that doesn't get it on the warrant.
Pardon?
That doesn't get it on the warrant either.
I know.
Oh. So that's where we are then. Because we have a tie vote with the four of us.
Okay, I'm moving on. I move that we withdraw from the warrant Article 41, amend general bylaw, Chapter 310, wetlands protection bylaw.
Second.
Discussion? It's probably the same as the last article.
No,
John?
actually, Mr. Chair, I'm presuming that the bold print is the new section. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. I understand, maybe I'm misunderstanding, but I've been hearing that the Conservation Commission has been using that 60-foot measure already in their decisions. Is that true or not true?
Yeah, this is Brad Chase, Chair of the Conservation Commission. We have been recommending it in the past year or so, and we voted to impose it maybe the year before.
It's, if I may, through the chair.
Yes, Amy.
It is a regulation currently, not a bylaw.
To answer your question, Don?
No, I'm just wondering why we're validating something that's already happening.
I think what you want is
Someone
to have
here to answer that?
consistent regulations and bylaws.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. You want to respond to that, Amy?
Apologize there. My mic was on when I was clearing my throat. So bylaws, I mean, regulations have a less stringency than bylaws do. Bylaws, when they get challenged, it's much more difficult to overcome. So regulations are great and almost policy, almost policies, if you will, but a bylaw would give this regulation more strength.
Thank you, Amy. Don, does that answer your question?
Yeah, it was more rhetorical, but sure.
Okay. Other discussion? We have a motion and a second then to withdraw this. Take a roll call. Start with you this time, Ed.
No.
Michael?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
And I'm no on this as well, which means it also doesn't get on the warrant at this point. But
I move that we withdraw Article 42, amend general bylaw, Chapter 131, historic preservation, demolition delay bylaw from the final warrant.
Second.
so any discussion?
Well, Mr.
Take
Chair,
Don?
this isn't the same discussion. We've been dodging this. What's the point of even having these discussions if we're not going to be serious about paring down the size of a warrant in a pandemic?
So you're on Article 42, right?
Yeah, but I mean, the attempt here, overarching, is to try to get to a more succinct warrant. Things that add a half hour here and 45 minutes there are going to protract this. And there's the overlay of how many people have been able to participate readily in these things. This isn't the right time to move forward with a full-bore reconstruction of regulations and bylaws. It just isn't.
Okay. But on this article, we voted on the other two though, unless we wanted to redo it, but this.
Oh, sure.
We're on Article 43 and the motion is to withdraw. I mean, 42. And the motion
42, the motion is withdrawal. Is there a second?
Me.
Yes, it was a second.
Okay, discussion, Ed?
In what I'm looking at, all it says is placeholder for HDHC demolition delay bylaw.
So this is, sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, please.
Thank you. So this is a topic that the chair of that commission and I spoke. I have language. I did not have a chance to get it to council. When I got it to council, I just advised that the board has been looking at reducing warrants. So the Historic District Historical Commission will not be meeting in time to vet this further. And so at this point, there's been no action taken on it to see where the board is going with this.
So withdrawal is in order at this point, you're saying?
Well, I would agree with that, given that we don't actually have an actual proposal in front of us to look, you know. I agree if the goal is to bring consistency with other towns, so there isn't the confusion that we have from one town to the next is probably a good goal, but I'd like to see the proposal before moving ahead with that.
Okay. Joe?
And I would just add, I believe it would be fair to state that this proposal has not gone through the type of hearing that the board has referenced on prior articles. Again, has not gone the hearing process.
Mr. Chair, can I ask through you to the town administrator when we have to sign this warrant?
So my goal is to have the board finalize the warrant completely at your meeting on March 29th, vote to close it and to sign it on the 29th, next Monday.
Thank you.
We have Sandy?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a clarification on that last motion, 41. The motion was to remove the article from the warrant, and the motion failed. Does that mean it gets removed?
No.
Yes.
The actions that the board, yep. Sorry.
Joe?
The actions that the board is taking is to develop the warrant. The article was not placed on the warrant. The article was not withdrawn from the warrant. Technically, the article no longer exists in the warrant.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
We have a motion and a second then to withdraw Article 42. Is that correct?
Correct.
Correct.
I'll take a roll call. Ed?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
And I'm aye.
I move that we withdraw Article 43, approval of PHY Clean Waters Community Partnership Agreement from the final warrant.
Second.
Discussion?
Do we have any indication what the other towns are deciding?
Yeah.
I know there was.
Let me turn this. Yeah, I'll go to Joe on that because we've had discussions. But
Thank you. Yes, the most recent subgroup meeting was this past Friday, and the two other communities are still finalizing their warrants, but the other communities had expressed either in one instance a desire to hold off until their community can have broader community participation. So they were entertaining at a special town meeting in the fall. I think that's reflective of the town of Dennis. The town of Yarmouth, while wanting to go forward in the spring, was more motivated, if I could say it this way to the members that were there with me, is more motivated by an effort to have the three towns on the same schedule. So the two other towns are understanding that this may not be going before the Harwich town meeting in the spring, and they're casting their gaze towards a special town meeting in the fall, excuse me.
thank you, Joe. Does that answer your question, Ed?
Yes.
We have a motion and a second. We'll go with roll call. Don?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
And I'm aye.
Okay, I move that we include in the warrant Article 44, authorize the sale of 5 Bells Neck Road.
Second.
Mr. Chairman, if I
Discussion?
may.
No?
Based on your earlier discussion, it's my understanding that this will be renumbered as Article 17.
Yes.
Correct.
And that would be my second.
We have a motion then and a second. Roll call, Don?
You want me to make a new motion, Joe?
I don't think it's necessary. I understood the intent from the earlier discussion.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, though.
Don?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
And I'm aye.
Okay, I move that we'll go back.
Yeah.
I move that we accept and adopt Article 44, authorize the sale of 5 Bells Neck Road.
Discussion
As-
or second,
At
rather?
17.
Oh,
Okay.
Article 17, sorry. It's
Second.
getting late.
Amen.
Ed's timeline, we blew right by it.
Yeah, we did.
We did, yes. But it was correct now, so I'll take a roll call. Don?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
And I'm aye.
I move that we include Article 45, amend the Code of Harwich General Bylaws, Chapter 8, Departmental Revolving Funds, Section 8-1, funds established in the final warrant.
The second?
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah.
Don?
Really quick. I know that it's a late hour to be saying this, but I'm trying to be consistent here. We're relying way too much on revolving funds, and to that end, I'm not going to support this article. That some future discussion has to happen about corralling money back into the general fund so that it can be dispersed through appropriations and not this burgeoning revolving fund situation that we find ourselves in.
Other discussion?
I would just say that I agree with Don, and we have all agreed in the past to have this conversation in an open meeting where there's more time. This one doesn't bother me, but I do think Don's correct. We need to have a much longer conversation about revolving funds.
And I'm in agreement. I want to vote for it because we need to get it done this year, but we need to move ahead on this. Joe?
Yes, just to follow on that discussion will be part of the discussions that Megan and I will undertake starting in June as we talk about the fiscal year 23, but also several years out. I'm very mindful of where the board is regarding revolving funds, so that conversation will occur in those discussions, and we'll come back to the board perhaps as early as the summertime of 2021.
Thank you for that, Joe. With that, I'll take a roll call. Ed?
Aye.
Don?
No.
Michael?
Aye.
I'm aye.
Move that we accept and adopt Article 45, amend the Code of Harwich General Bylaws, Chapter 8, Departmental Revolving Funds, Section 8-1, funds established.
Amy, did you wish to comment on this one? Okay. Other discussion?
You need a second.
Ed
I
seconded
need a
it.
second. Don, will you do that for me?
No, I'm not seconding it. Because I'm not voting for it.
It was moved and seconded.
Okay. We have a second. You think I'm pressing too much down in this late hour? I'll take a roll call. I'm aye. Ed?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
And Don?
No.
Okay, I move that we include Article 46, annual departmental revolving funds authorization in the final warrant.
Second.
Discussion? Joe?
Very quickly, these numbers mirror what was done last year. There's been no increases.
Okay. Thank you. Discussion? Roll call. Don?
No.
Michael?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
I'm aye.
Move that we accept and adopt Article 46, annual departmental revolving funds authorization.
Second.
Another chance for discussion. Ed, you seconded it. Take a roll call. Michael?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
I'm aye. Don?
No.
Okay. This one relates to, I got a note saying how much money.
So if I may, if the finance director could help me out with this one, both the stabilization and OPEB, I cannot recall if we have draft estimated costs for either of these yet.
So that depends, that's certainly dependent upon the board. Historically, I believe that the remaining funds in free cash, the board would separate between the two stabilization and OPEB funds. I'm not sure what your intention is this year. So that I guess that is a discussion, and you may have to bring this back. I will tell you that the stabilization fund, what was funded or to balance the budget in FY21 was $574,171. But I'm not sure if you might want to or deposit more funds in that in the stabilization account, or what your intention is. So it's difficult for me to answer that question, I guess.
I guess I would ask what's left for money, Carol?
What is in the fund?
Yeah, no, what's left for money to divide and put in there?
Okay. So I don't have that information in front of me, and I apologize to you for that. But I can certainly have that well before Monday evening, if that's helpful.
Okay.
Okay.
I would recommend bringing this back, Larry.
Yes, I agree.
We'll put a hold on this one.
Yes. Ed?
Yeah, and could you also provide the information on what's currently in each of the funds?
Yes, absolutely.
That would help. Okay. Thank you. We'll bring this back then on Monday.
Thank you.
The only comment that I'll make, Larry, is we did tell the public no matter what, 574,171 is going back in that stabilization. Correct?
We did tell them that.
Okay. And Joe, I think you've put that money aside or anticipate that.
Correct. This budget was built to honor that statement.
Okay, thank you. Carol, do we have a number on 49? Or I know this is normally a floating number, but do we have a number or an estimate?
49 or 48 for OPEB?
48 OPEB?
Well, we're going to bring OPEB back. I thought we just decided both of those.
Okay.
Thank you.
We are still gathering information on prior year bills. I will have that for you Monday evening, and hopefully that'll be our final number. Will have to be.
Okay. I'm gonna move that we include Article 49, fund prior year's unpaid bills in the final warrant, dollar amount to be determined.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. I'll take a roll call. Don?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
And I'm aye.
We voted 50, 51, and 52 already.
Correct.
And 53.
And 53.
Correct.
So we're on to 54, and I would move that we withdraw Article 54, amend the Code of the Town of Harwich Charter, update the Board of Selectmen to Select Board from the final warrant.
Second.
Yeah, I understand the time. I'm not going to fight for this forever, but I would like to bring this back because it's sort of the state of the world we're in now. And it seems to be, I think that right now I'm told there are 70 towns on the state that's made the switch.
Larry, if I may?
Yes.
I agree with you. And I'm really not going to get caught up on what anyone wants to call us. However, we had the same conversation last year, and we agreed to do a certain amount of homework to make it make sense and understand what the cost to the town of Harwich would be. The state doesn't recognize select board. So have we had any conversations with any other town on what the cost is to do this? And there was a laundry list of things that Dana DaCosta read. But but there's some real information that we need to gather before we just arbitrarily change the name because other towns did.
Yeah, Don?
Larry, in support of what Michael just said, I had a conversation last year when there was an MMA, face-to-face with John Giorgio. He specifically said that it was going to cost time and money to do this. How much, he wouldn't say, or he didn't say. So it's not a guess on Michael's part. It's a number that we don't have yet.
I agree we don't have. I've had some, superficial discussions that was not very costly because they made a broad statement and then rolled it into the other actions when they were renewed, for instance, or rewritten. So it wasn't a massive change all at once. And so I think it was the cost, but we can get more detail. But it wasn't I got information from 2 different towns that wasn't a significant cost to make a switch.
I'd like an estimate from our lawyer though for billable hours.
Well, and then you got to add in what other changes we have to make in our charter and our bylaws. It needs to be a more thoughtful conversation than let's switch the name because we think it's the right thing to do. Let's present it in its entirety.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I'll take a roll call. Well, any other discussion? I'll take a roll call. Ed?
No.
Don?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Well, I'm going to vote no, but that gets me to the same point. It's not on the warrant, so it's just a matter of making a statement at this point, because I do want to bring it back.
Okay, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Joe, there's no more articles, correct?
Correct. However, I do have to make a statement about the election warrant.
Okay.
Okay.
And I will be as brief as I can very quickly. What the board will get back for Monday evening is a reflection of all of the votes and actions you've taken this evening. I'm keeping a compendium list of the scrivener's errors that I come across to advise the board. I'm working with department heads and article sponsors to fill in explanations that aren't presently there. And last but not least, in addition to this, the board will be presented formally as an agenda item. As you can see in the remaining pages of this packet material, the annual election ballot for May, and I just noticed there's a typo on the date, May 18th, 2021. And you'll see there not only the candidates, but that there are 2 ballot questions, 2 debt exclusions that already match to the articles that you've already placed on the warrant. So Monday evening, you will have specific agenda items to finalize and close and sign the warrant for the annual town meeting, finalize and close the warrant for the annual town election. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Michael, do you have another question? Or John? John, go ahead.
Yeah, may I say something, Larry, please? Thank you very much, Larry.
You may.
First of all, I want to commend everybody here on this meeting. It's been a very long, tedious, but arduous, but you got through it. And that's great because it's going to help me make my job a lot easier. We have voted on a number of articles already on our committee, about 24. We may have to adjust a couple. We have a meeting scheduled for tomorrow night. I did make notes. But I've also got 2 different warrant articles, as Joe alluded earlier in the day, over the last 2 days. And there's a little bit of confusion. And Joe, I know we've talked about you attending our meeting tomorrow night. I really would appreciate if you could attend tomorrow night and help us get through the remaining articles. There's a lot that...
Sure, I understand. I just want to let the board know that I have childcare issues tomorrow evening, and I'm trying to work around that. If I can attend, I will certainly attend. I think the board understands the extraordinary week we've had, and I'm just trying to, in this instance, balance family with work.
Joe?
What I'll try to do then is, if you don't attend, is to get through these articles the best I can with my limited knowledge on parliamentary procedure and things like that. I'll try my best to get through them. I didn't make notes. It seemed pretty self-sufficient. You're bringing back some on Monday, but also you want me to have written recommendations to you shortly too, right, Joe?
Sir, for as much as the board gets through, it is required, and I know I'll look to Selectman Howell to correct what I'm probably going to misstate on. The Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee are required to make recommendations. The Finance Committee has to make recommendations to make motions. We also can avail ourselves of the motions book that was introduced last town meeting that will go forward for future town meetings. So whatever's not in the warrant for a formal recommendation, you can put in that, recommendation pending prior to town meeting. So we have options. What we do not have the option of is going well past Tuesday of next week to finalize this to get it to print.
And you raise a good point, Joe, because last year we forgot to put our votes in the warrant. So we have to be sure we remember that this year.
I will not make that mistake twice, as God is my witness.
That's my point. We just got these warrants literally today, and it's hard to vote on something you don't have in your hands to vote on. We do have a meeting tomorrow night. Like you said, I took a stance to vote on some last week when we had information that wasn't complete, knowing that we were up against the timeline here. I will make every attempt to make a vote on all of them tomorrow night, which I think I can do. But again, I have limited knowledge on the parliamentary procedures. I haven't got years and years of experience like everyone else on this board does. So I'll try my best tomorrow night to get through these articles. And I have scheduled with my vice chairman on Saturday to get written recommendations to you to try to meet your timelines. But to get these warrants today.
John, let me suggest to you that you go through tomorrow night, and that will give you a chance on those articles you have questions on to follow up then later with Joe before this, before he needs to get done.
That's the point, Larry. If I have to have these things by Tuesday,
Mr. Chair?
Don?
I think we're mixing apples and oranges up here. We're under an obligation to print the warrant, to close it, to make recommendations, and to have it printed. The votes that you make could be an addenda sheet that goes to town meeting. There is no written legal requirement to be printed in the warrant, but we do have a requirement that we find out how FinCom voted by the actual vote. 5-4, 6-3, whatever. You're not under an obligation to hit the accelerator pedal tomorrow and finish by Tuesday.
John, let me just, Don reminds me that it's not unusual for FinCom and the Board of Selectmen to get together the night of the, this time would be the day, just prior to the meeting, to occasionally change our opinion or come to conclusions different than we came before, to reconcile our actions and announce that at the town meeting. So
I just want to, I feel an obligation to the town's folks to get our votes recorded as quickly and as accurately as possible, and not give them our votes on the day of town meeting. I think that's personally, I think it's a disservice. But I understand what you're saying, and we'll try to get through them tomorrow night, and then get what we need to get to Joe to get to print. That's all.
Okay.
Well, Mr. Chair, I wasn't recommending that he wait for everything until the day before town meeting. I'm saying that you could conceivably go, John, till the next week and have an addenda sheet that's handed out to participants in the town meeting that shows your position and votes, and then you can clarify that by any loose ends the day before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, again, I haven't got the years of experience. I'll do the best I can tomorrow night. I did take a lot of notes, and I think I pretty much understand the position that your board take. And I commend you for getting through all 54 articles. So,
okay. Thank you, John.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
And Joe, you'll let me know
Ed,
if you
did you wish to say?
Yeah, John, also realize that your board doesn't have to go through the two-step process that we were going through tonight on whether to include it or not. We've made those decisions. So it's simply the vote is whether to accept and adopt or to recommend indefinite postponement.
Okay.
You know, and so, and you can actually, in some cases, you know, group some of the non-controversial ones together to move past them, like the first three articles, as one motion rather than take up a lot of time.
Yeah, no, I understand. I think we can move pretty quickly tomorrow, but it would be nice if Joe was here. Just let me know, Joe, if you can attend. That'd be great.
Larry?
Okay.
Thank you all.
Yes,
Larry?
Michael?
Just because I feel left out, everybody else is talking, and I'm not. I love to talk. As much as it agonizes me to think to sit through this again tomorrow night, Joe, if you can't make it, if somebody could ring me prior to the meeting, half an hour, 45 minutes, I could probably alter my schedule and sit in on the meeting and give you any advice you may need. So just let me know. If Joe can't make it or another town staff can't make it, let me know, and I'll sit in and answer anything you might have questions to.
Oh, Michael, I really appreciate that. Yeah, it's just the parliamentary. I want to do it right. That's what I want to do. And,
Well, you're doing a great job. Thank you.
so thank
Okay.
you, Michael, and thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on then to contracts, Joe?
So I'm just going to make motions unless Joe wants to talk.
Don't want to talk to you, Joe. Michael, make your motions.
Okay, the only question I have is, and I apologize, I didn't pick up on it in the packet, and I know I was reading the warrant a little more detailed. When did we decide, and has the money been approved? Where's the money coming from for the stump cutter? I know there was some very heated debate last year on whether or not we were going to buy a fancy stump grinder. So just tell me where the money's coming from and whether town meeting approved it or what's happening.
So the first part I can speak to, it was a directive from the chair to work with the various parties to get to an acquisition of the stump grinder. The DPW, cemetery, and golf departments all partnered together. I apologize, but I will have to defer to Carol and Griffin if they recall specifically the funding source. I do know that the funding is available to meet this contract.
I would be happy to speak to this.
Carol? Yes, please.
So a third of the funding is coming from cemetery revolving fund, a third is coming from the golf budget, and a third is coming from the recycling grant, which the DPW director received permission to use those funds for that purpose. Thank
you. I move that the Board of Selectmen execute a contract with Vermeer Mid-Atlantic LLC for a Vermeer SC552 stump cutter in the amount of $60,039.
Second. Second. Other discussion? I'll take a roll call. Don?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
And I'm aye.
Move the Board of Selectmen execute a contract with Colonial Municipal Group for 2 police cruisers for the police department for $96,930.80.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call. I'll start with an aye. Ed?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Aye. So those are both unanimously accepted and approved. Town administrator report?
Nothing to report, thank you.
Selectmen reports, Ed?
Nothing. Yeah.
Michael?
No, I just, my only comment is we did rush through voting the warrant, but we really didn't rush through it. We've been talking about these things for a year. Not all of them, but we've got a fair amount of information. So I imagine the warrant will be on the town website and the explanations speak for themselves and can all be related back to prior conversations. So we rushed, but we really didn't rush. This has been a long drawn out process, and we've talked about this a lot. And this year, more than normal, I think that there was a lot of communication in the beginning from the board to the town administrator, the department heads, and there was some pretty set guidelines on what we were going to do and what we weren't going to do. And I think we held to that. So I thank the department heads again for their involvement in this and their input, and for accepting no in a lot of cases, and continuing from last year and reducing their budgets. It is getting painful. The 3 to 5 year projection on budget is a very welcomed conversation with me, because we can't continue to just put Band-Aids on things, and we have to figure out the direction the town's going to go. But thank the town administrator, all of the department heads, Carol Capola, everybody involved in this process. There was a tremendous amount of work done in it. Tonight wasn't a reflection of that by how we rushed through it, but we are on a time deadline, and we all have had this information to absorb. So that's it.
Thank you, Michael. Don?
I don't have anything.
Nor do I. Thanks for hanging in there. It's been a long meeting, but I think, as I said before, as Michael said, this is actually the end of what, Joe? We had 4 or 5 meetings in a row from department heads, going through it individually, plus joint meetings with FinCom, as well as all the work you folks have done. So we'll wrap it up on Monday, and we'll be ready.
Before John thinks I forgot, 44 days till town meeting.
How many hours, Joe?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Roll call. Don?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
And I'm aye. I was going to say enjoy the rest of the evening, but it's past my bedtime. My evening's done.
It's almost tomorrow.
Same here.
Good night, all.
Night.